are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show, 'cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show, 'cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. We're dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. You search but you stay lost. Search but you stay lost. We're reaching for the stars. We're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show, 'cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show, 'cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. I need you again, so stick around. So stick around. You're the one I want. Say you need me. Hide away now. Don't let go. I know you feel the same. Say you need me. 'Cause you'll always be my broken love. Broken love. Broken love. Broken love. 'Cause you'll always be my broken love. Cause you'll always be my broken love. You're so leave me. Don't let it go. I know you feel it. Cause you'll always be my broken love. They don't know how we love when we're lying close. With you I know I belong. Without all eyes on us. You're the one I want. Say you need me. Hide away now. Don't let go. I know you feel the same. Say you need me. 'Cause you'll always be my broken love. Broken love. Broken love. Broken love. 'Cause you'll always be my broken love. Cause you'll always be my broken love. You're so say you need me. Don't let it go. I know you feel it. Say you need me. Cause you'll always be my broken love. We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. We're dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. You search but you stay lost. Search but you stay lost. We're reaching for the stars. We're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. I need you again, so stick around. So stick around. I need you again, so stick around.
Leave the world around us. They don't need to know. Come find me where the sun sets and say you'll never let me go. You're the one I want. Say you need me. Hide where I go. Don't let go. I know you feel the same. Say you need me. 'Cause you'll always be my broken love. Broken love. Cause you'll always be my broken love. Cause you'll always be my broken love. You're so don't let go. I know you feel it. Cause you'll always be my broken love. They don't know how we love when we're lying close. With you, I know I belong. Without all eyes on us, you're the one I want. Say you need me. Hide where I go. Don't let go. I know you feel the same. Say you need me. 'Cause you'll always be my broken love. Broken love. Cause you'll always be my broken love. Cause you'll always be my broken love. You're so don't let go. I know you feel it. Cause you'll always be my broken love.
does. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. We're dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. Search but you stay lost. We're reaching for the stars. We're making this too hard. And I wonder where you are. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow. Mysterious, that's the part you always show. 'Cause you're too curious. Maybe you should take it slow.
Yo, what's happening? What's happening? What y'all doing? What's going on this Manic Monday? What's happening out here? You guys, what the hell's going on with this Koberger situation? What do y'all think about that? Wild shit, huh? Pretty wild, I'd say. Oh, you got your names back. Okay, go ahead. Mod chat now is Queen B. Hey, at least you got your names back. That's what's up. Yeah. So they did come back. That's what's up. That's what's happening. Relieved and happy for the family, Flutter says. Well, you know what? I think Kaylee's dad is not very happy at all. But yeah, I cannot believe. I guess I can, but I can't. You know what I mean? I guess I just thought that he would fight it all the way. And for my own selfish reasons, I wanted there to be a trial, because of course we all wanted to watch it and hear all the details and you know what I mean, hear everything that happened. We wanted to listen to it be laid out on the timeline. And yeah, I think that he's scared of the death penalty. Obviously, his family doesn't want him to take the death penalty. I mean, that's being guilty as charged. Yeah, but they took the death penalty off the table. And life without parole, absolutely. Yeah, he'll definitely get life without parole for sure. The family wanted a trial. Yeah, I knew Kaylee's dad did, but I didn't know if the other did. And I mean, man, eye roll. I don't think he wanted to face anything. To be honest with you, I don't think he wanted to face the media or the parents. No parole, no appeal. Yeah, that's uh that's a definite. The plea was for consecutive plus 10 years for the burglary, not life. One parole. Well, there was one that says one news thing from Brian Enton said that he was signing a plea deal because it was life without, or I mean, the death penalty was. Yeah, a lot like it. Yeah, dad. Yeah, dad spoke his nation. Yeah, for sure. Let's go pull it up. Hold on. Here's a post out of the Facebook post, but it's from the family. Let's see here. So it says, Enclave's family, it's true. We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This is very expected. We appreciate all your love and support. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're very happy about this. Steve said all the families are upset. Okay, so they all wanted a trial then, huh? Oh, the end of July for sentencing already? Did they, CJ? Would you send them? Man, honestly, it's probably best that Steve spared details about his daughter. Honestly, I mean that's it's horrific. It's not something that he's gonna want in his memory, etched in his mind for the rest of his life. So maybe it's a good thing that he didn't have to, or they, all families, but especially him. I know he's one that took it extremely hard. Said not all families agreed, but say who. Yeah. Now he can start writing his book. Is he going to write a book? Huh. Well, I mean, what does justice look like? The death penalty? Is that Christy? Well, what do you mean by they deserve justice? I mean, him getting prison time, we knew that, but I mean, do you think he deserved the death penalty? Like, would that be justice? I mean, in my opinion, I think he does, but that's just my opinion. But I'm just curious on what you guys think. Just trying to have an open discussion about it, really, because I know not everybody feels the same way, and that's cool. That's okay. I'm cool with that. You think, hold on, you think the family should have a say so in the plea agreement? Or you think they should be able to say, yeah, I agree with that plea agreement, or no? B switched, said yes, 100%. He deserved the death penalty. You know what? Hey, I don't hold it against you one way or another. Whichever way, however you feel about it is how you feel about it. Banfield just said they're lifting the gag order, but not sure how much we will find out. Well, see, that's the thing. I think, like I said, for my own self, I mean, I wanted to know. I wanted to know what was going on. I mean, I'm nosy as fuck when it comes to that. Like I think we all wanted to know what was going on with him, like during the trial, like what happened. We all wanted answers. You know what I mean? Like we all wanted those details. We all wanted to know. Um, you know, what the hell happened, why he did what he did, what led him to that, all the details, like what happened.
Idaho College murders case. Another story that we're following this morning. The Idaho College murders case. A trial date has been officially set with opening statements scheduled for August 18th, and the judge dealing in.
Well, this ain't new. This ain't new at all. What the hell? Said some 3 days ago. Look at this. 3 days ago. 3 days ago, my ass. Shit. Let's go over here with video. What the hell?
I'm Benny Politan. We begin this program this hour with big breaking news in the biggest case on our docket here at Court TV, the biggest true crime case and trial in the nation. The case involving the 4 University of Idaho students who were brutally murdered. The suspect in that case has been offered and accepted a deal. Do you hear me? A deal for the killer of Haley, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana, the 4 students from the University of Idaho. This is how it all went down. Apparently, the prosecutor sent a letter today to the family victims indicating that the suspect, the now soon-to-be admitted killer, is going to accept a deal where he will plead guilty to all counts, agree to a sentence of 4 consecutive life sentences, 1 for each of the victims, will waive his right to any appeal, bringing finality to the case and to the conviction. And all is now apparently scheduled to go on July 2nd. Now, obviously, this is going to cause a lot of reactions. We have seen one already from the family of Kelly Gonzalez. I want to put that up on the screen because this is where I'm going to begin this discussion tonight of this breaking news. It's true. We are beyond furious at the state of Idaho. They have failed us. Please give us some time. This was very unexpected. We appreciate all your love and support. Let's keep that up there for a second so everyone can read it. What is important here? What is significant? First of all, they are beyond furious. They wanted this to go all the way through to the death penalty. Number one. Also, this was very unexpected. That tells you how out of the loop the victims' families were in this decision. Now, by law, it is the people of the state versus the defendant. The families, the victims' families are not a party to the case, but they have some rights. They should have a lot more rights, but they don't. But now we're learning that in a state like Idaho, which permits the death penalty, who is the death penalty for? It's for the worst of the worst. Who is this guy? A psychotic mass murderer? And he's the one who's going to get a deal. He's the one getting the deal tonight. With, at a minimum, the Gonzalez family furious. I don't know about the other families. They may not want to go through a trial. But the law is the law. The law in Idaho is that the worst of the worst is for the death penalty. If not this guy, then who? What is it there for? Don't even have it. You might as well get rid of it tonight. If someone like this, the one you're going to attempt to give the death penalty to, what do you have it for then? To make your jobs easier? Yeah, it's a tough trial. Yeah, it'll be 3 months. It'll be brutal. There's a lot of preparation. Everything is at stake. Nothing is a gimme. Nothing is a layup. But that's your job. That's what you're elected and that's what you're hired to do the cases that aren't easy. And the death penalty should not be used merely as a way to make jobs easier for prosecutors. Whether it's the prosecutors at the trial or the ones who have to fight the appeals, it doesn't matter. It's your job. And who is this defendant? Why does he, by the way, why was this case easy for prosecutors to prosecute? Relatively easy. How did they catch this guy? The DNA from the knife sheath, right? Now, how was that knife sheath left behind? Why? Under what circumstances? What do we know? Well, we know Kaylee Gonzalez fought back. My guess is likely in that struggle, the knife sheath somehow ended up on the bed. She fought. She fought harder than prosecutors are willing to fight for justice in this case. And again, you before or against the death penalty, that's irrelevant. Your thoughts about the death penalty.
Man, fuck, that's a lot to take in, y'all. What's up, Tia? How are you, baby?
Good, Queen. How are you?
I'm good. What's going on, baby?
So, just my very inexperienced input after being at a trial with a family and going through it with them. These people have no idea what it's like, and I would not recommend that to anybody. And the odds of him actually getting the death penalty are very hard when a jury is going through that. Like, it's hard to find a jury that's gonna complete and go, what the family wants. You know what I mean? Because these people have to live with it the rest of their lives too. So there was a very good chance that he was going to get this anyway. The going through a trial and hearing the details, sitting with the family, looking at pictures that should never, ever, because, in court, they're posted. They may not come out of the courtroom, but if you're sitting in the gallery, you do see photos that you should never, ever, ever, ever see. And you know what? I'm very conflicted because I too wanted a trial for this. And I think a lot of people think that that's how you get justice. But after going through it in April,
what does justice look like? It may look different for us than it does for the family.
I agree with you. And that's exactly what I was going to say is it looks different for everyone. The only thing that I'm glad about is that they don't have to sit and listen to the medical examiner. They don't have to listen to each detective describe what they saw. They don't have to see the pictures because there's nothing that, I'll be real. After Rachel's trial, it fucked me up. It really did. I'm not kidding. Like, it was great being there. I'll do it again. But being close with the family and then seeing what I saw, hearing what I heard, it's really difficult.
Yeah, they say, that's why, police officers have a high rate of unaliving. You know what I mean? And it's due to things like that, things they see, things they witness, things they're, you know what I mean? Like, they see some of the worst of the worst.
I'm seeing people say if it were my child, I would want the DP. And I agree with that. I totally agree with you. But the path, the journey to get there is so freaking unrewarding and horrid.
Well, not only that, though, listen, people on penalty, it takes years.
You betcha.
Years and years, and he would be appeal, and
yep,
it would be, family would have to live this for years over and over and over and over
Absolutely.
Again.
You're right. It could be 20 years.
Do you think BHP will in the 10-pack for the Idaho trip? Nope. What 10-pack? What's up, Emily? How are you, baby?
Hi, good.
How are you, honey?
I'm pretty good. I just wanted to weigh in on this too. Because I've had an opinion on this
So, what you
as
think,
well.
baby? You should do
Well,
what? So, what do
I
you? Where you at with it?
I just wonder if anybody this I've always had um the opinion I'm against the death penalty actually. And the reason being is not because I think, oh, it's cruel, and I do think uh, and it's because of the victims, and their families. Just like Tia said, I don't know how many of you out there have seen the documentary, The Chazire Murders, a family in Connecticut that they had the murders, and they went through, and the dad lived, and the mom and the two daughters died, and he went through years and years. And they first told him, well, you know um the two guys could have, I think it was two, I can't remember, it's been a while, but it was basically that if they took they said they would take the plea deal, and the dad said, no, I want them to have the death penalty. And so they went through all of that, and these guys were going to take life, and he wouldn't accept it. And I understand, it's not that I don't understand, and I can't say, like somebody said, if it's your kids, I mean, it's not that I don't get it, but you don't get to move, as I feel, is to mourn somebody, the grief. Do you ever your life get back to normal? It never would. But to be able to finally just say, okay, let's move forward. They have other kids, just to do that. Also, are the parents going to still be alive when this happens? It's the rest of their life. They're just going to, go to appeals and all this. So this dad went through the
Where their whole
trial.
lives will revolve around it.
That's all it is. It's all it is. And then sometimes the parents aren't even there to see it happen. But this dad, during the trial, and you guys, this movie is excellent. The thing is last I knew it's on Max, but he the man, one of the men, they raped, I don't know if I could say that now, they and murdered these women, and he was in the basement, the dad, and he got out. Well, they ended up, during the trial, one of these men said they called his daughter by her like nickname. That's how vile the guy was. He had to listen to that. He had to see the pictures. He had to see everything. And in Connecticut, it took forever for the fight for these people to get in there and save them. They did, I think they did they caught the house on fire or something too. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. But the worst part is they got the death penalty. He thought he got justice. The new governor came in and changed the law, so there was no longer a death penalty in that state. And they no longer had the death penalty after all of that, all the appeals, everything he went through. And it was years of appeals and fighting, and him having to see and hear about the details of what he did to the daughters and to the mom, and using the nickname of his daughter, and it made him sick for that. And I understand. But to me, everybody says, oh, let's, do this. Let's, the death penalty is the best thing. But is it for their mental well-being, for their peace? Is it really?
But
It's not
you
justice.
also have to think of the jurors, because they're the ones who are actually doing this, and they have to live with this as well. And that's a very difficult thing to
Hmm.
decide someone's fate, whether they should live or die. And again, I want to listen. when our case was going up, I wanted the death penalty, and our state doesn't have it. I wanted the death penalty. So I was like, yes, 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 let's do it. But you know what? Seeing the little wimp in court, I was like, no, having you live miserably works too. And my hope is that people will sue, like the families will do what we're doing in other cases. And that is, they can civilly sue him. And first of all, he cannot make money. I've heard people saying that he cannot make any money. But they can civilly sue him. So whatever he gets, whatever his family puts on the books, the family gets. So he gets nothing on the books. So making his life even more uncomfortable. You know, these are things that they can do. So that he's not one of those comfy guys sitting in jail with brand new tennis shoes and all the snack cakes he can get. No. I'm doing that with Victor right now. I am removing all rights and privileges from him so that he doesn't get to enjoy. There'll be no noodles for Victor. So
you're right. Yeah, you eat the food they give you 3 times a day. They get a little snack. That's all you get.
Well, I'm really hoping that the family does this for Brian Koberger as well, because it just makes things just a little bit more uncomfortable for them. And achieving the DP on this is a difficult, and maybe not in Idaho, and I don't know, but getting 12 people to agree to it is very difficult. Not that this, and I'm not excusing anything. I am not a pro burger. I am so, I would have stood there and held the gun for the firing squad for him. I would have been very happy because what he did.
And I say, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't think that he deserves, the people, if they do this, they deserve it. I'm big on the victims, and I think it makes them, they've already been through so much, and it's like, why after all that, it's not like a week later that they get the death. They have to go through appeals, and they have to go through so much more that I feel like they need some time to just finally get peace. And I don't know if there ever is peace. There isn't.
It's learning how to live your life again a different way. But there's no peace.
Is there peace that you're waiting this many years, and then for what? Even they say, even after the trial, when someone's guilty, that it's not, what now? That didn't help. So somebody 20 years later, they get the death penalty, that you feel better. I mean, no, nothing's ever justice. I don't think, you know what I mean? But I just think,
I don't know. I was pretty excited when our guy caught
but nothing ever is going to
feel without the possibility of parole. It felt pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's not ever going to replace what they, you know what I'm saying? So I just think,
going into that, we're not replacing anything.
Like I said, as long as it takes as many years in appeals, I don't know. Like I said, before I was, kind of back and forth, and then after I saw that movie, I was like, God, for families to have to go through something like that, and then for that to happen, no.
Hold on 1 second. Jody said, are y'all forgetting the families want a trial, and you're all saying it's good that the trial? No, but the families have never been through a trial. I just went through one with a family, and it's horrific. And though they want it, they don't know what they're going to be sitting through. They have no idea. And until you've done that, it's the worst thing that I've seen, watched, been a part of. It's draining. And I wasn't a family member, and I couldn't imagine, I say to this day, I couldn't imagine being a loved one, seeing what I saw. So I am actually thinking of the families, because I don't want them to ever deal with that. And it doesn't, whether he lives or dies is not going to make their pain go away or ease it up in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't know. But I know from my personal experience that it was good for a minute. We all clapped and laughed and shoot him off. And then I got in the car. I didn't even get in the car. And I was in the elevator and I cried like I've never cried before. And it was just going through the process of seeing what I saw, hearing what I heard, and thinking of what these poor kids have to go on and live without their mom. And I say that for these parents going on to live without, their children. And ooh, what's that? Is this from I want to see this.
Yeah, this is from Kaylee's family. You want to read it? You're welcome to read it, and I'll just follow along with you, or whatever works.
I'm happy to read it for you if you're good with it.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, baby, and I'll just scroll right through it with you.
Okay. Aubrey was unable to attend the meeting with the prosecutors to beg for an additional concessions to guarantee certainty in the case. Sorry. We are all in awe of how she was able to perfectly articulate the following, especially at only 18 years old. We're so proud of her. Hello, my name is Aubrey Gonzalez. How do you say that? Gonzalez? Thank you. I don't want to disrespect them at all. Gonzalez. And I am the youngest member of the Gonzalez family. Though I'm unable to be there in person, I refuse to stay silent about a situation that should never have required this kind of gathering in the first place. What the families of Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana have endured over the past 2.5 years is beyond comprehension. From the consistent delays to the relocation of the proceedings, making it harder for loved ones to attend, the justice system has placed heavy burdens on those already carrying unimaginable grief. Through it all, we have tried to hold on to hope. We've believed in the process. We've had faith in the system. But at this point, it is impossible to acknowledge the truth in the system has failed these 4 innocent victims and their families. These are not just names or headlines. Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, were beautiful human beings who touched countless lives. They are not just the Idaho 4. Can you scroll when you get a second, Ian? Sorry.
Well, I think that's it for that one. So
okay.
Yeah, so that one's because it doesn't go any further than that. So
gotcha.
So that's the start of it. And then here's 2 more of these. I'm hoping I got them in order. I don't know if I did or not, but I'm hoping I did. So here's the next one. Let's see what this one says here. They were people with real dreams. Go ahead, baby.
They deserve to be remembered for who they were in life, not only for the tragedy of their deaths, but before that can truly happen, they deserve justice, nothing less. The introduction of this plea deal just weeks before the scheduled trial is both shocking and cruel. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Had this proposal come 1.5 years ago, the families could have had time to process, discuss, and potentially come to terms with the idea of a life sentence. However difficult that may be, we could have had time to understand it, to prepare for it emotionally, and perhaps even find some degree of peace. But now, with mere weeks left, we are being asked to absorb and respond life-altering decisions with no room to breathe. Brian Kober facing life in prison means he would get to speak, form relationships, engage in the world. Meanwhile, our loved ones have been silenced forever. This really stings more deeply when it feels like the system is protecting his future more than honoring our victims' pasts. The justice system was created to serve and protect, not re-traumatize grieving families. And yet, time and time again, we find ourselves blindsided, unheard, and unsupported. The last-minute plea deal feels less like an act of justice and more like an afterthought. We are not asking for vengeance. We are asking for accountability. We are asking for dignity for our loved ones, and we are asking for pleading for a justice system that truly lives up to its name. That's tough.
And then there's this, and I'm not sure what this is here, unless this is we already read. Okay, here, this is another post.
Okay.
Go ahead here. Go ahead, baby.
I would like to clarify a couple of things. We did talk to the prosecution on Friday and the possibility of a plea deal, and it was a hard no from our family. It was a nonchalant and barely discussed, as a majority of the conversation was surrounding the upcoming trial. Nothing in our conversation prepared us for the next steps. Sunday night, we received an email that sent us scrambling. We immediately jumped into panic mode and started making phone calls and sending emails. We met with the prosecution again today to reiterate our views on pushing for the death penalty. Unfortunately, all of our efforts did not matter. We did our best. We fought harder than anyone could have ever imagined. Please do not argue or tell us we should not have done this or that. We gave 200% for the last 2 years and 7 months. One day we will tell you all we have really been through from day one. You will be shocked. We fought a long battle. We lost the war. We did gain an army of love that we know will always stand by us. We have so much love for each other and each one of you. You all gave us the strength when we felt like we couldn't take another step. Called us off the ledge when we were ready to wave in the white flag. And most importantly, prayed for us when we were in utter despair and hopelessness. So much love to all of you. Oh. What do you think, Queen?
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And it sucks because while they tell the families, they don't. I think prosecutors take some things into consideration, but they're really trying to get the conviction. And
yeah, the conviction matters. I mean,
yes,
it really does.
Yes.
What's up, Ellie Boo? What's happening, babe?
Hi, Ellie.
Ellie up here?
I'm freaking muted and I'm talking. I'm like, oh,
okay, I was like, what is she doing? I was getting ready to drop you.
I'm like, I'm talking. I'm freaking talking. And why can't they hear me? I was muted. Oh my God. You can hear me now, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
what
good.
Do you
okay,
think?
good. This is what I think. I'm like happy that, I mean, they found him guilty. They don't have to go through a trial. I don't understand why. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, him admitting to guilt is another thing too.
Yes.
Is he's openly admitting to all
Right.
4 murders.
That's all they could ask for.
Judy,
right?
the lawyer, says the intensity of a trial, and I have done many, is incredibly draining, impossible to anticipate. To go to trial is like choosing to climb a mountain with no training. It takes that much energy.
Oh my God, that's so.
I think it's amazing, actually. I was like excited so much. I mean, I know that Steve Gonzalez and that family, they think they've been gypped out, but like they got a guilty plea. Like, you're going to really like leave it up to a jury? No way. This is the best possible scenario. I know they're not going to get the death penalty, but whatever. I mean, that I think you get like special privileges and even like you're treated better when you are in that system for death penalty. Anyway, I think this is the best case scenario. I think the Ethan's parents, family, this is what they're probably so happy tonight, and their soul is probably resting because they weren't even to go to the trial because for them it was a waste of energy, which I can understand that. You know what I mean by that? It was not the right directed energy. But with the Gonzalez family, they're more into like, it's kind of, I hate to say it, like performative. They kind of need to show the world that and look him in the eye, but like, who cares? You don't want to do that to yourself.
Ethan's family was gonna go to the trial. Now they changed their mind.
Really? They changed their minds. Yeah. Wow. See, I had respect that they didn't want to, but they changed their mind. That's interesting. Well, now nobody has to go, which is, I think, the best for everybody. If they wanted to or not wanted to, it's not good on your soul to go through that.
The trial would have added more trauma to them.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
But
There's a
Well,
lot
and
of
then
facts.
not only that though, listen, Sarah's suspicions brings up a good point too. A mistrial is a very good possibility, and you can't retry. This is a for sure conviction with him.
Look what happened with friggin' Karen Reed. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I mean, you just never know. I mean, to get a guilty plea, to like kind of like poo-poo a guilty plea is just such it being such a little bratty brat, in my opinion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really, you could have like you have him walk. Like you got him admit it. Even better than being found guilty. He's going to admit it, right? I mean, it's the fucking best case scenario. But it's hard for, I'm sure, the families to see some of it.
I think for 2.5 years, the families have been dead set and preparing for this moment, and with his cockiness and his arrogance, and I think they were kind of looking to sit there and kind of look him down a little bit, and there is something to be said for that. There's a lot to be said for
and
that.
I think they wanted him to have to look them in the face too. They wanted him to have to see them, and look them in the eye.
To be said for
they
that.
wanted answers. And I believe they're, entitled to those answers if he's willing to give them answers one day, as to why he chose their child, why them, why those few kids, what happened that night.
Yeah. They weren't.
Maybe he'll do like a tell-all. Maybe he'll do like one of those like jailhouse friggin' interviews, a tell-all. You know what I mean? I hope so. I don't know, because if he's like a crazy, I mean, it kind of would go along with his brand. You know what I mean? The way that he like studied, like remember his like on Reddit, his like questionnaire and stuff. Like it would really go along with that. He wants to be famous from this. You know what I mean?
Well, infamous, I think, is what he's going to be. And
infamous, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. No, and famous, maybe he wanted to be famous, but he is going to be infamous, unfortunately. And I think that sucks. I truly am thinking of the families. I'm conflicted for them right now because, like I said, being there, it's a horrific thing to have to go through. But I'm not a psychologist, and I'm just a stupid ass with a microphone, but I think
it's the best fucking case scenario. It has. I mean, you have to see it's the best case. They got a guilty plea without a trial and having to go through it and stay in a hotel. Like it's the best.
But I'm looking at it
think it's the best for them. They don't think it's the best for them. It is the best for them. I mean, unfortunately, they don't see it, but it's the best for this whole family to have a guilty. Like, see, people are missing the fucking point of a trial and of like. I mean, he's admitting to it. You know,
there's 4 families, right? There's 4 families, and they're each entitled like to their own opinion. We don't know what the other 3 families feel. We know what the Goncalves family feels, and they have that right to feel that. I can say that I would want to be in the courtroom, and I would want to know why. But in a trial, sometimes you don't know why. You have a state that puts on their theory why. You have a defense that puts on, tries to debunk that. But truly, will we know the what the family wants to know as the why? You know what I mean? Not only he knows. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
well, the family wants to know why he did it, why this happened, and they're never going to, because that man is never going to tell them. They're never going to know that whys, and that's the part that that's not the part that they're going to see. They're going to see the things that they don't want to see. And I see in chat a lot of people, people who have opinions on Steve, and I'm just going to say this, and it's just a different opinion. His daughter was brutally murdered, and he was fighting for her because she didn't have a voice. And I think some people sometimes don't understand that people grieve differently. People, I do believe that he said some things he shouldn't have, and he did talk a lot. But like I said, everybody grieves differently.
If this gave him purpose too,
right? Well, and if something like this happened to me, I would want my parents out there fighting for me. I don't have children, but I would say I would do this for my siblings, I would want this.
But I would also want like a fucking guilty plea and to be done with it and
Right.
not have to go to trial.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm just saying
I
in
think people are
general,
missing
since
the point of our justice
Ellie,
system.
hold
with the
on,
whole thing.
Ellie,
All right.
hold on. I'm just saying before
Why?
this,
Hold on.
before this,
Oh my
what
God.
he's done, I
What?
think I can't
I don't know.
imagine being a dad and he has a big family and he probably felt like, what do I do? And everybody was falling apart and it was what he had to do. And I think people are forgetting that he, you know, you can't control everything in life. And when you have your wife and all your kids just falling apart and it's something he couldn't control. And I do believe there are things, like I said, he said he shouldn't have, but you just don't know what you would do.
I don't know what I would do.
No, people need to give him grace. And
And I've watched programs to where people, and it doesn't happen right away, but families, not a whole family, but one representative from the family. I've watched that
Cap, you up here?
there's programs where people can go and in the prison and speak to the person that took their family member's life. And I wonder if Steve, if the Goncalves family would have a little bit more peace if maybe in time and a year down the road or whatever, if they if they could have arranged that for them. It's like I think they wanted to for him to have to look them in their eye and see their pain. I would want that to where and I've seen it like people that you know are on death row and the families get to come in and address the person, and maybe that would be a sense of healing for them, instead
That's
of
actually an interesting
the
thought.
3 month trial. That way you would have to look me in the eye and I would be able to say all the things I want to say to you and see if you will answer me. I watched a woman.
Like a victim impact statement kind of thing.
Well, it was in the prison, and it was like just like doing an interview. There was a table, there was guards and everything, and they filmed it. And it's kind of new on the whatever. It's kind of trickling down. They've only been doing it a couple of years, but where you can go and the inmate has to agree to it. There's one family member. It's not like a whole family can go, and you can sit there and you can't wild out and hit them and whatever, but they have to look you in the eye and you can speak to them. To where I think that sometimes might be
That's
more
interesting.
healing than sitting through a 3 month trial listening to all the medical exam. You know what I mean? Because I think what I would want from the trial, I don't know if I would get from the trial. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. He might not ever look at me. He might not ever turn his head. He might
Right.
not ever make contact with me. And we've seen, I mean, look at Lori and Chad Daybell's trials. There, yes, we got the motive or kind of how it happened, but not the actual why. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
maybe
No.
that might be
Absolutely.
something if they addressed it with them, said, hey, in a year from now, you'll be able to sit down with him. But Koberger has to agree to that too, you know. But maybe that would lessen the blow because I would want. And another thing is, a lot of people are like, well, they'll have to go every day and they'll have to see all that. That's not necessarily true. You don't have to go all day, and the prosecution definitely knows what day autopsy pictures are going to be shown, and the families are notified, hey, tomorrow we're going to be doing X, Y, and Z, and they
Yep.
don't have to go that day.
Yep.
So, that's also a protection, for the families. But I think if we could, because I think that's so that's what I would want from the trial. I mean,
Well, I
feel
think
like
that
it's
they've
guilty.
like braced them.
So,
They've like
Rowena?
braced themselves. Like they've kind of braced themselves for this as part of their process. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they thought for sure they were going to trial. Can you guys hear me good, or should I take off my headphones?
You're right.
We can hear you good.
Okay. Anyway, but yeah, I think that they like braced themselves and this is part of their process is going to trial. I think that this is awesome that they got the guilty plea and everything. Obviously, I'm not them, and I have like empathy like for them. I think that the guilty plea is in their best interest whether they like it or not. But because with trial, you run the risk of a lot of things happening. You know what I mean? That could not be good. And
We went through
but
almost
Well,
they're
yeah, what about a
obviously like
mistrial?
it's
I mean,
right.
there's
Well, and you go through
that.
jurors too. You don't realize how fast you go
Yeah.
through jurors because
And
you know what
3
happens with
months.
jurors? Jurors fall asleep.
Right. 3
Right.
And I
months. I
swear to
mean,
God,
3 months. It's a long time. And another thing is, it's like, oh, shit, I lost my train of thought. I don't know what I was going to say. I'm going to shut up.
I also think it's really important that we don't know the terms of the plea deal yet. And I think people that haven't quite experienced that, and I echo Tia in her experience, and I wasn't there, but was a part of it from afar. There's so many details that go into it. And at this point, all we are aware of is that, and it was the defense who went to the prosecution, or to the state about the plea deal, but we don't know what that plea deal entails yet. So maybe some of the things that some of the families right now are shocked by, bitter about, like rightfully so. But some of those matters may be addressed in the terms of his plea deal. We won't know until that is made public. And I think that's really something that's important to remember.
Yeah. And I think too, that they've waited for this day. They've waited to get justice for their children. All the families, right? You've waited. You've got a date. You've got this. You're emotionally, on that roller coaster, and you're pushing. You're excited. You're like, yes, I'm going to get them justice. And then all of a sudden, it's like, I feel like my children aren't going to have a voice. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not going to be able to represent my child, and I can't imagine that. I think right now, what we're kind of seeing is just raw emotion, just the immediate raw emotion of
Yep.
disappointment and everything. And hopefully over time they can see that this, because look, how many times have I said it's scary? Some of these people on the streets could be on a jury. People want to know every single detail.
Yep.
And sometimes DNA doesn't get it. Sometimes, I mean, they want to actually see the crime being committed, and then some of them might have a question about that. So you risk a mistrial, you miss him being found not guilty. I mean, anything can happen. That's why it's a trial, and you're not going to have appeals. There's no appeal to this. There's no, and the family too. Even though, yes, it's it might not be what they wanted. Sometimes you don't know that it was the best thing for you until later in time. Does that
It
make
may not be
That's
sense?
what
what
I'm.
they
Yeah,
wanted, but it may be what they
exactly.
need.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
and I
I
also
got
I
you.
put into perspective, like, there's a lot of families that don't get justice and they're getting justice, and that's fucking awesome. You know.
And
Rowena, what was the name of that show you just said? I'm really
I
interested in
can't remember. I'll try. Look. I will look for it. God, it was like a year a year
Okay.
ago I watched it, and it was something I found on YouTube,
Okay.
and it was so interesting. But I will go back and I will find. But it was so interesting watching, and I think it was the girl's mother, and but the prisoner had to agree to it, and that's something. Another thing is I'm very interested in. Remember after Watts, right? And you
Yeah.
had the psychiatrist that went in and spoke to him, and we learned more about what created this monster. What
Yes.
you know? What I'm not trying to, and
No.
I'm not saying that he's a good person or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but just kind of like what happened.
Right.
To where a psychologist, not during a trial, can sometimes give us more answers of the whys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Um,
I agree.
you
And I
know,
do think, and I think once again, this is so important, where I do think the terms of this plea deal are likely going to be things like, I, I'm not going to lie, I listened to like portions of Emily D. Baker and a couple other channels, and their assessment of this so far. And granted, we only know the bare minimum at the moment, but from the expert, who could chime in on this, like, that's what I kind of took away. Is like, we don't know the terms of this plea deal yet, but there's no doubt in many people's mind that the fortunate thing about it too will be like, he will not be able to appeal things. So this is going to put an end to it. Whereas if they proceeded with the trial, with the death penalty on the table and stuff, and say he was found guilty, you're talking, that doesn't mean that, when you get a DP, that something's going to happen instantly. Like, it'll be years and years, and then you're brought in for appeal after appeal.
Well, and just because DP's on the table doesn't mean that they're going to get it.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And my guess is that the state is going to be pretty specific and very strict on the protocols of what they expect from him in taking the plea deal and what he is allowed to do and not do moving forward. My hope is that it gives all four families, because that's a difficult position to be in. Especially, I don't know if all four families all feel the exact same. I do think that they all want justice for everyone, for all four victims, for sure. But I think I get the raw emotion, and I really do agree with Rowena and stuff, like those comments made by the Gonzalez family, because they have been very boisterous and very vocal. Out of all four if you take all four victims in the families, they've been the one who've been more pronounced throughout this. I think in time, I think right now, I do agree that it is certainly kind of just like a weird shock for them.
Yeah. Almost like, what do I do with myself now? Almost like, what do I do with myself now? It's like, it's over. Now what do I do? Because I've worked for so many years to get my child justice, all the families, right? Not just one family, but all the families. I've worked so hard to get them justice, and and now it's over.
Can I tell you a story when you get a second, Rowena?
That's hard.
So the family member that we were working with, and thank goodness Lefty's up here, she can back me up on this one, but the family member that we've been working so hard with and trying to support with our situation, as soon as the trial was over, literally went off on me for the dumbest thing. It was for a like on Facebook. That's what it was. And he went off on me like he knew me better than my husband, and said things that, just read me for filth. And
it takes a minute for the emotional reaction to take a step back. And
I didn't say anything to him. I initially typed a response, and then I was like, nope, because I understand that he had a mission before the trial. And I think that Steve Gonzalez is this very similar in that he has a mission that he's trying to get to. And now his mission, the rug's been pulled out from under him.
Yep.
And compassion is what's needed.
Yep.
I received, I really want to say this too, because it's not fair to just put the story out there, but I received a very sincere apology from our family member too, that was like, I can't believe I just did that. And whatever. I knew what was happening. He's really struggling right now to find his space in the world again. And
I just don't think any family, whether they're at peace with this decision or whether they're not, I just don't think any family should be judged right now.
No.
I'm of course, I'm not part of the family or anything like that, but it did scare me, like, to hear people talk, and it's like, well, I would need more. Well, I would need more. And I prayed to God that the state had enough. You know what I mean? Like that they actually had enough. And like, you've got the roommate text, and then she said this, and then, but that isn't the way that it is showing up on her phone. And and then after the Murdaugh trial, and it's like now people want to go visit the scene, and if I can't see the scene, then I just can't see it. I don't care if you spent $18 million on a video and a
Um,
thing walking me through. Sometimes it's just not enough. So I'm glad
we
he's
got
just never
JR.
walked.
JR, you're up here with us. Your camera's on though, baby. You want to turn it off or you want to leave it on?
I turn it off.
Okay, honey, you got to tap the screen and it'll be right next to your mic. There's a camera button. You just push that and it should shut it off. You have to do it on your side. I can't. I got the cover up though, so nobody can see you but me. I'm the only one that can see your screen back there. But just if you tap the screen, it'll be right next to your mic. Well, now it says device is not connected. So you'll have to still allow your cam, but just to turn it off.
And I think many of us can count our blessings that we're not in this position. And so, like, essentially, we're kind of like Monday morning quarterback this kind of deal. But I will say, like, with the idea being in a
Can
trial.
I leave it like?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Can I leave it like it is?
Yeah, I got the screen covered for you. Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. There's I'm gonna let her finish her sentence. I'm sorry.
You can go ahead. I'm so sorry. I pulled a Rowena too, and I think I just lost my train of thought. So please continue. I apologize.
Okay.
Please continue.
There's one more of this Gonzalez family statements that you guys didn't read, and it's actually, I think it's pretty important, and I can read it for you. And it says it's under Brian Enton's X account.
Yes, would you please?
Okay. And it says the Gonzalez family statement. The death penalty is merely an illusion in the criminal justice system. When available, it serves as a bargaining tool for the state and rarely.
You cut out, baby. Check your screensaver.
Can y'all hear me?
Now
just the last sentence.
Anything about the state, and then
something with the state.
Okay. It serves as a bargaining tool for the state. And when rarely applied, it never enforced due to highly inefficient applicable process. The notion that someone can plead guilty to a crime and still face years of appellate delays reveals a systemic failure. The Latah County Prosecutor's Office treatment of our family during this process is something I wouldn't wish on anyone. We questioned decisions early in the investigation. Why was the mayor commenting on the case? Why was the coroner speaking to families? Why was an officer with less than 2 years' experience leading the investigation? Why was the University of Idaho involved when they declared it as an isolated off-campus incident? Why was the university permitted to write a book about the incident while others were silenced under an overly broad order? As a result, we were branded adversaries, so it was no shock how the Latah County Prosecutor's Office mishandled the plea deal. They vaguely mentioned a possible plea deal on Friday without seeking our input and presented the plea on Sunday. Latah County should be ashamed of its prosecutor's office from the onset. We weren't even called about the plea. We received an email with an attached letter. That's how Latah County's prosecutor's office treats murder victims' families. Adding an insult to injury, they are rushing the plea, giving families just 1 day to coordinate and appear at the courthouse for a plea on July 2nd. Who do they think they are? After more than 2 years, This is how it concludes, with a secretive deal and a hurried effort to close the case without any input from the victims' families on the plea details. Our family is frustrated right now, and that will subside, and we will come together as always and deal with the reality that we face moving forward. Once again, we thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. That was the end.
And he has
Is
every
that
right
this
to
right
feel
here?
that way.
This one here.
I'm not looking at it. Yes.
I think
Yes,
that is
Yes.
that is
because
it.
I think I sent Tia too while y'all were talking, just like in case you needed it.
And I just thought that it was important that one got added to tonight's discussion. Thank you for having me up, Queen.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for reading that as well.
And I'll be honest. I mean, I will be totally honest. I'm glad that he pled guilty. I'm glad that now, from what I heard, that there's no chance of appeal, no chance of parole. 4 life sentences with an additional 10 years is what I heard. But I'm happy that there's no chance. There's not going to be a weird juror that can't go through with it. There's not going to be the juror that's
Right.
like, well, I don't know if he's really guilty. We see it on these streets every day.
Listen, I watched 5 jurors get excused. 5.
Yeah.
So I am
Yeah,
glad of that. Am I disappointed? Because I still want answers. I want to know, how did he get into a car without any DNA? I want to know how in 7 minutes this was done. Those answers, I want. Hopefully, we'll get the information. Who knows?
My hope is that that's part of the stipulations of the plea bargain. Like, he's going to have to attest and confirm certain aspects.
Everything that he did, yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that, and I know that's still really hard to deal with, and especially.
But then what if they seal? What if, you know what I mean? What if they seal it per like a family member's request? Then what?
I don't think they would seal it, because I don't think a family member would seal it, because they would want.
No, lawyer. No. Lawyer could.
The only thing that they'll probably seal will be photographs.
Oh yeah, I think that should be a law. I'm sorry. I don't think that I don't care if you're my adult child or my minor child, or my husband. I don't think any autopsy pictures should be included in any kind of FOIA report. I just
Crime
don't.
scene or autopsy.
Right.
I agree
just
with you. That is just unnecessary. Like,
Right.
there's no
If you
need
can't
for
get
that.
it from the diagrams, then you're not smart enough to get it.
And if your morbid curiosity runs that deep, then become a detective. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But
I agree with that.
I respect the legitimate channels, because I do think we're not talking about minors. I do think things are certainly that I think FOIA will be an option, and people who are like creators who in the true crime realm, who are mindful and productive in the way that they present the information, can and will most likely obtain that information and present it in a way that is
a lot of the times they're released on X. Those what's that called? That channel. There's a channel that does it. The Docket, I think.
Yes. I was just going to say that.
But I know a lot of people have compared to like Chris Watts and stuff too, or the past handful of hours at least. Like I said, I've only listened to sorry. Never mind. I didn't mean to name. Sorry, Queen. Other channels.
No, you're fine, baby. You're fine.
But you know what I was just listening to, like, other people just kind of give their assessment of the current situation. And I think one of the biggest differences right now is when people try to equate like the Watts and stuff, like, that's very true. We could get a ton, but certain things were certainly left out because we're talking also about my children. These are also, granted, they weren't even quite to the prime of their life, but technically, yeah, they were adults. But I do think the information will be out there. And I do think And my hope is that the stipulations regarding this plea deal will um, kind of
But
all
can that
for,
be in a plea deal? Can
yeah.
that okay.
I
I
mean,
didn't know what all they could include in a plea deal. I don't know
it,
any about
oh,
all this.
so with a plea deal, like they can, I mean, the stipulations, he has to agree to it. And I think, and what's shocking, what was kind of surprising to me is the fact that, granted, Tia and I have made a point not to be very involved with this one because our whole plan was this was going to be the case that we looked at, literally watching the trial and giving commentary as if we were a juror. Like we were trying very hard not to, indulge ourselves in all the details about things. We were waiting to watch this play out and to be like, okay, if we were on a jury, what would we say? So I can only, you know what I mean? Like I
Hey, buddy.
What's
Yeah.
up, guys?
Good. I'm so
Hey,
glad you came up. I was
what do
just
you
about
Hey
to say I'm
girl.
about to read chat. Please, body, come up.
I
What's
just
shaking?
I
Help.
really want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I just got done with my show, and so we just covered this, and we had like this attorney on. His name is Jarrett Ferrantino, and he's a homicide prosecutor, and he's dealt with many plea deals and many death penalty cases, and had to approach families about plea deals, and so he knows all this stuff. So of course I bombarded him with a million questions, right? Like it's an opportunity, right? Like to get answers. And there's a lot of talk of an Alford plea. There is no Alford plea. If there was an Alford plea, we would already know that. There he's gonna on Wednesday, he'll show up. He will have to speak in his own voice and answer questions from the judge, like he understands what he's doing. He's in the right, sound mind, all that good stuff, right? He will have to say that he is guilty of all four murders and the burglary charge. So he'll get, 4 life sentences plus 10 for the burglary, which, okay, whatever. Um, and at some point, either we're not sure if it's going to happen at sentencing, which will be in July, late July. Sentencing will be in late July. And when sentencing happens, there'll be a victim impact statement, obviously from the victims' families, and he'll have the chance to do allocution. And there might be something in the allocution that we'll be able to hear publicly, but none of us
I
can.
don't mean to sound stupid, but what's allocution? I'm sorry.
No, don't be
I know I'm
sorry.
not the only stupid one, so I'll ask it. I'll
No,
be the dummy in the back.
you're not.
Thanks
You're
for
not stupid.
asking.
I was in the back of the class,
No,
baby.
you're
Except for
not stupid.
science.
You are absolutely not stupid. So allocution is basically the only opportunity that the defendant, in this case Brian Koberger, has to speak to the judge. And he can give explanations. He can, explain motive. He can. Okay, did you guys ever see BTK give his speech?
Yes.
Yes.
That's an
I did.
allocution. That's an
Okay.
allocution.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. So then the judge takes all that into consideration for sentencing. That's basically what it is. So we don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. But listen, I feel so bad for like the Goncalves family. I feel terrible for them. Apparently Xana's family has come out too and said that they're not happy with this as well. We haven't heard from the Mogan family or the Chapin family. I have no idea what they're feeling. But, this is a complicated case. There's 4 families and 4 emotions to deal, different sets of
Yep.
emotions to deal with. And in their case, the way justice looks to them is, an eye for an eye. And going to the trial and sitting in for Kaylee, like that is their idea of justice, right? And I feel terrible for them. But, the reality of the situation is death penalty cases are like 6 times more expensive than life sentences, like 3
And they're
hots in a cot is so much cheaper than the death penalty because they get appeal after appeal after appeal.
Yep.
And the death penalty cases are under intense judicial scrutiny, like intense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they just get appeal after appeal, and the families they go to these appeals, and it's just never ending.
Yeah.
And Idaho didn't kill anybody, hasn't murdered anybody on death row. I say that murdered, you know what I mean, death penalty
Right.
since 2012.
Oh
Like
my
it,
gosh.
so like it,
Yeah, and oh, you know what? I just read that they've only executed 3 people since 1976. Like
right,
it's
Yeah.
pretty rare.
right,
So
right,
How many do they have waiting?
Well,
right.
a
I don't know
lot.
how many are on death row right now. Actually, I have no idea. I talked about this a while ago, but I actually made a short about it. A couple years ago, after all this happened, I read a study on the death penalty in Idaho. And listen to this, you guys. From 2002 to 2019, they took all the murder cases that happened in Idaho. And out of all the murder cases that happened in Idaho, 155 qualified for the death penalty. So there were mitigating factors that made it a capital case, right? Well, out of the 155, the state only pursued like 32 of them.
Wow.
Of those 32, Of those 32, 23 pled.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
There's
So
9 people on death row in Idaho right now.
there you go.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
see
and I'll
that
be
like
honest, the
that's
first
like only like
when I
nine
heard he
people. I just feel like I don't know. It's super. I don't know. I'm really happy about this.
That's
I'm
I'm
very
not the
happy
family,
about
and
it.
my opinion doesn't matter, obviously. And I think that, like we were talking about earlier, that they've braced themselves. Like this is their process. They're going to trial, and they're going to fight for their kids. And
Right.
but I just can't help but be like super happy. And
Yeah.
like to be honest, a lot of the statements made, the one that the lady just read off Enton's page, like fosters a lot of conspiracy theory and stuff like that. And I'm just like, no, please, like
I know. I
don't.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Like just don't do
Well,
that.
when
To
I
body.
first
me,
heard
it
it,
says they need to heal. That again, I say they need to heal. They need to.
Yeah, they
There's a
when
do.
lot
I
of
first,
healing, and
oh, sorry, I got a delay.
it's
Let
going
me
to be
pick up my phone.
years if they do it. Like I said, it's not something that's going to be done right away, and it's going to be so many years, and
Right.
it's not.
And
Well,
you're the
I'll
And
be
They're
I
making
honest.
it they're kind of making it sound like they're not getting the death penalty because of X, Y, and Z, like all this corruption in the case. When
well,
really
listen, I think that
the reality is that it's not really that common to do in the state.
I think that goes hand in hand with living in the
Yeah.
northern panhandle of Idaho. I think that just goes hand in hand with living in that area, right? Like that's just the way people are there.
Right.
I my heart breaks for the all the families, but they likely at their age, because I'm the same age as them, I likely would never see Brian Koberger put to death.
Right.
I said that when I came up.
Right.
My parents would probably not even see their
Yeah.
body. Have
And
you
then
seen the
my
documentary?
children would be, then the siblings of the victims would
Are
be
left.
left behind to
Yep.
feel like they need to carry that torch for
Right.
me and their sibling that's no longer here. But when I first heard about this plea, it had been like 4 minutes and it was posted. I was like, oh my gosh, but the first thing I thought of, I was like, okay, all right, now let prison justice take care of it like Dahmer.
Right.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, I'm sorry.
that's a likely scenario though,
Yeah,
Romina. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's very likely.
yeah.
Very likely.
And
And
it's
if
more
you're on
likely
death
than getting
row,
it. Yeah.
death row's a whole lot nicer than life in prison,
That's
and
right.
a whole lot nicer. And
But
so,
Steve's other Kaylee's sister made a statement today, and she was like, Brian Koberger gets to live his life, albeit in prison, but he gets to form relationships, and he gets to enjoy food, and he gets to like learn and study, and like my sister doesn't, and that hits home. That hurts my heart.
but
That
he might have been able to do that for 30 years. You know what I
That's what I
mean?
was just going to say. That's
Hmm.
exactly what I was just going to say. Yeah, but he would have
Um,
continued to do that with even more access
body.
than
Yeah.
if he was in life in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
Body.
Right.
That's what I
Right.
said.
Because honestly, her siblings probably wouldn't even. He probably die of natural causes, because if they've only executed 3 people in the last
Right.
50 years, like that he's going to die natural causes even if he was on death row. It's really not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the government. Listen, I hate the government, but they
Me
do
too.
take great scrutiny when they're killing somebody, and you have to give every
Well, that's
opportunity for them to
I'm glad they
present.
do.
Well, I
yeah,
am too. No, I am too. But that's how it's designed, and that's
Right.
and to Steve's point in his statement, he was like, he recognizes that, and that's a flaw according to him in the justice system. But that's what we've got. And
But
while my heart breaks for them, I really do. I feel really bad for them. But that's not what the judge is going to consider when he's deciding to accept or reject this plea deal. The only way that they're going to reject this plea deal is if it's not in the interest of justice. That's it.
right.
Right.
Claudia, I'd be
because it's law
curious.
versus morality. And that is something that I have to constantly remind myself.
Me
What's
too.
moral isn't necessarily what the law is. Do I wish it were different? Sure, but we're not a
Absolutely.
feeling kind of place. It's
Right. No,
law.
you're spot on, hun. You're spot on. I totally agree.
I mean,
I'm really
look at okay, and I hate to bring this up, but look at OJ. Everybody thought he was guilty. Guess what? He wasn't. Look at Casey Anthony. She walked out. You just don't know. You just don't know. You don't know with those jurors. You just don't know. Which I
and
think. I think that what's her face? I think she was just overcharged. I think that's what the issue was there, and they just didn't have anything else to fall back on Casey Anthony. But it's like we've just seen some big cases that just didn't. It's like you just know, but there was something there. There was something there. And
and
I've sat here and watched people in chat and be like, well, I would need more. Well, I would need more. And we don't know how much more the state had. We just don't know.
And
And
I
so
think
I
we
would
will
rather
though.
him rot in prison and have the biggest, hairiest cellmate and just
Yeah.
have a grand old time, and let prison justice take care of him if that so happens, versus him walking.
Right.
and and Ray, that's so interesting because that was what body I was going to ask you. I don't know. I'm with Tia too. Like I need to listen. I'm sorry, I missed your live or your information, your discussion about it. But I'd be really curious to know um, if there was any insight provided on the reasoning for all of a sudden the plea deal because there was
Well,
clearly
yeah. That's like what changed, right? Like what
yeah because
changed?
that
Well,
that's some yeah
in May there was a hearing. I can't remember what it was about, but it was like whatever. And it was televised or whatever. And in that hearing the judge said on May 15th, the less best offer is due at the end of June. Okay? So here we are, end of June, actually the last day of June, and there's the plea. Okay. So here's what changed. I think, I don't know. Listen, the defense's back is up against the wall. We have the denial of the third party culpability. We have the denial of the trial being delayed. We have the denial that the DNA evidence is not going to be used.
hmm
Denial after denial after denial, right? Backup is
hmm
against the wall. And I am convinced, you guys, that listen, don't get me started, but I am convinced that Brian Koberger's sister called the FBI, and that's why Dad flew out to get him. I don't think that trip was planned under any circumstances, in any capacity, and brought him
I know.
back.
I never
And
thought about
so,
it like
I'm convinced, and like this is speculation alert. This is just my opinion, that the family finally got to him. This is your last chance, Brian. This is your last chance to save your life, to save your sister from testifying against you. Because, oh my God, how terrible would that be?
Hmm.
And I think he finally was like, yeah, okay,
I,
I
I
did
mean,
it.
and the fact is that he is literally, from what we know so far, he is pleading guilty, saying, "Yes, I did this to these four people.
Right.
Like I did this. Like
Right.
he's acknowledging that, And for someone whose defense, who, in my opinion, again, being very outside of it purposefully because of what Tia and I had kind of planned to do in terms of the upcoming trial, we both kind of removed ourselves from it. But I'm not, I'm not ignorant
Yeah.
enough to say, like, I know that defense was stepping forward every step of the way. And for them to
Yeah.
all of us go, like, boom, he's
Well,
willing
and
to.
I
What is it? There's
say this,
something there.
but money becomes a factor too.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I didn't even like. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm gonna say it. Like, defense attorneys cost money.
Yeah,
And
but
Yeah.
Well,
I don't
it's
know.
it's state appointed. It's a public. She's a
Oh, it
she's
is.
a
right,
public
Okay, thank
defender.
you for
right,
But
correcting me.
it still costs the state a lot of
right.
money, right? Because the
Right.
state is funding it, right? The state is
Mm-hmm.
I
funding
did
his
not realize
defense.
it was state appointed. Thank you for, like I said, we've stayed away from this because I was looking at it as a juror. So I
Right,
knew so little.
right.
Yeah,
just
he's not paying for it,
no, and
and
I
he
just
got
have
very lucky with her.
true,
You
Very.
know,
She's a
very true.
wonderful lawyer. She's a
oh,
great
she's
lawyer.
incredible. Look, if I ever had a family member, I'd be like, you.
Yeah,
That's
she's
who I
wonderful.
want. Mm-hmm.
But I
But it
would,
was out of his character from everything else to take this plea deal
yeah,
because
exactly.
he's
So what is it that's there that all of a sudden made them go, we can't get around this?
Well,
Being able,
yeah, like I said, in May at the hearing, the judge said the last best offer is due at the end of June, early July, and this was the last deal that was going to be made to him. This was his last opportunity to plea. And listen, like, this is like an emotionally charged case. The entire well, not the entire country, but the entire country that's interested in true crime, right, is invested in this case. Everybody, it's emotionally charged. Four
Mm-hmm.
incredible young humans were murdered in their sleep, practically. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the worst. He's like the literal boogeyman, right?
Right.
The chances of him getting
Literally the poster guy for Boogeyman.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like the chances of him getting the death penalty, I think, were pretty high. And I think again, this is total speculation. Take me out to the bench and whip me if you don't like it. But I do think his family pled with him in some capacity. Brian, this is the last chance. You know this more than anyone. You're a criminology student. Wake the fuck up. Sorry. Wake the heck up. You're gonna die. They're going to kill you. You have to stop this. You have to plea.
And didn't it come out to where his sister said something to the dad um, when this happened because of the car, because
Yeah,
of the
because the
things, to where she was just like, "Do you think did I
yes,
did, see? That's what I thought."
yeah.
And
So
we were all like,
around
"Why wouldn't you fly?" I mean, that's just so odd,
it is
you
odd.
know.
It is
Mm-hmm.
very odd. And so December, I think 9th, 8th or 9th is when the bolo went out for the car.
Mm-hmm.
And I think around that time, we like true crime. We pay attention to this stuff, but not everybody does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And around that time, his sister might have been watching the news and
Yeah.
seen this car and like, oh my God, he bought that knife on the Amazon account. It got shipped to the house. And Dad, what do you think? And he's like, oh, I don't think so. I think you're crazy. I don't know what he said to her. And I'm making all this up in my head, anyway.
But
Um,
your gut is telling you too.
my
Like,
gut is telling me that, yeah.
yeah, and I guarantee his sister's gut was saying the same thing. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, you have that feeling.
and
You as a true crime analyst has that feeling, but imagine the family that's, like you're saying, putting all the pieces together. It's like, oh shit. Oh
Yeah.
and
shit.
then you have to think about it too, because there's evidence that none of us are aware of. I mean, in
Right.
order to present trial, it has to be presented. There's stuff that the state has presented that we are not aware of, that the judge either has approved or not approved. This can come in, this cannot come in. There are certain aspects that we're not aware of, and in my opinion, there's clearly something there, that there was something that he could not get around. And then the
Right.
other option too, also, he technically doesn't really have an alibi except for, going to do this
Stargazing. Yeah,
night.
stargazing ain't gonna get it.
Yep. And your option is then the only one who can defend that is to put him on the stand potentially. Which I don't think any defense attorney is like, yes, put our client on
Look
the
what Murdaugh
stand.
happened. Look what happened to Murdaugh on the
Oh,
stand. He was an
Right.
attorney.
God, that was great.
God,
Right.
that was
oh
like one of the
ever.
best trials I ever
God,
watched. It was glorious.
That was a good one.
oh my God, I love that
Lottie,
case more
do you think
in a weird way.
do you think they'll release a lot of? Do you think the state will dump a lot of information, and when, if they do?
It depends on. It depends on. Yeah, I do. I do think that. I don't know if the state will release it, but I do think we'll get it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Well, I
I
know in Watts they didn't release everything. Like they
right,
released some things,
right,
but not all things. But that was also kids.
right. Those
So,
are kids, right?
you
So
know,
I think we will. I think there's going to be a lot of media foiling everything. I know that my production company is 100% on it and going to do that. Like, I mean, it's
Well,
definitely going to be happening.
it should be. I mean, I would be shocked that if people didn't, weigh it.
I'm
I'd be like,
I'm happy for the thing. I'm happy that he took the plea. I feel bad for the families if they don't agree. I feel bad for them, the ones that might agree. I'm happy, whatever it is, But I will say I am disappointed because I really was looking forward to the information of
Yes,
the how,
yes.
why.
The why, how and why.
Yeah.
Yep, right.
And I don't think we would have ever really got the why in a trial. You know what I mean? I just don't.
And
A
we
lot of
I'm
might
times, so
wondering
not.
many
if that
times you get a conviction, but you still don't have the why. And that
Right.
is why I like
The
so
trial
much
that
when
we went to, Ro, we did not get the why.
and like in Watts, I liked when the psychiatrist went into the prison and talked to
Yep.
him and did the interviews, and I learned a lot more of some of that. Some of it we'll never know, but um, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I think a lot of people are feeling that way, Rowena. Like we're not going to be able to find out the details now,
yeah, yeah,
And that's not necessarily true. I mean,
right.
we don't know the terms of the
it'll
plea deal. There might have to be a confession. He might have to work with the behavioral science unit at the FBI so they can study why this happened,
Oh,
who
they can put that in there?
sure.
Those are my
Really?
people. I love
Yeah,
them.
me too. I love
yeah.
oh God,
Really?
I have
I
a
love it.
couple of
And I
friends that we got to work with the Morin case, and I fucking love those
Yes.
guys.
Yes.
he really
They
does
are,
like love
and they're
that.
so nice to help us now. Like they're really, oh God, so much. They're good people. Good people.
Yeah,
And
very
I'm
good.
also
Very smart people, very wonderful people. And, they study these kinds of things to like look at predictive analysis on, what kind of person does these kinds of things and what kinds of things did they experience in childhood so
Hmm.
that, you can look for these kinds of things as a parent and maybe course correct. Like there's a lot of important societal things that can happen from somebody that confesses to these kinds of crimes that works with those kinds of people, right? It benefits
yeah.
society as a whole, and that outweighs, and I'm
Yep.
sorry to say this, those kinds of things outweigh the feelings of victims' families. And it's terrible to say. I don't mean that in a mean way, but it's
No,
just the
but
reality.
ends
No,
justifies the
it is reality
means.
though, and I know that it sounds harsh, but it is a reality because
Yeah, let's
they're not the only victims in the world,
Well,
and
it's
well, yeah, and
it
emotionally I feel terrible for them and my heart breaks for them because their idea of justice looks different, you know?
right.
mhm, yeah.
But rationally I have to go, okay, what's the outcome here? Why is
Hmm.
this
That's
going
what
to
I'm
happen?
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
But
you
we
know
that's what
also,
I'm
what?
saying.
Yes.
I'm,
Jarrett Ferrantino from Pennsylvania. Yeah.
I'm
And
wondering
like
too.
his mom, like Coburger's mom, wrote.
This is hold on, this is Steve speaking.
Oh yeah, let's listen to that. I haven't
Oh,
seen any of this because I was yeah.
oh yeah, this is him speaking on it, and they just put this out. So
All right, cool. Let's listen.
all right, here we go.
Steve Gonzalez. He is the father of Kaylee Gonzalez. His attorney is Shannon Gray, who has stood by him steadfast from the beginning. Steve, I don't know what to say. You're the first person I thought of when I heard this news today. I reached out to you right away, first to tell you how sorry I was, because I know how this is landing. At least I think I do. But I wanted you to have your say. I wanted you to be able to say out loud for everyone to hear what this means to you and your family.
This is anything but justice. This is the opposite of our will. There was no majority believing that this was acceptable. I want to honor all the police officers, the FBI, and all the people that work their tail off. The failure is at the court level, 100%. But the men in the boots on the ground and the women that were out there working, I want to honor everything that they did for our children, 100%. The fault is in leadership and the people that you place this evidence upon. They were weak. They decided to play God and decide what this man's decision should be, and not a jury, not a peers, not his peers. They. So that's where we are today.
Walk me through what happened. Brian Enton, did some really great reporting at the top of the show here. But tell me from your perspective how the last 3 days have played out.
I would say ever since Hitler has demanded an independent investigation, they couldn't get away from this case fast enough. They've done everything to make this case go away. So I don't know what that entails, but he said he was going to have an independent investigator, and all of a sudden we seemed like we were on rails to get rid of this case and make a plea deal. I mean, he's guilty. We all know he's guilty. There's more than enough evidence, but it's tough. It's tough to put a community through this, and it could be bad for reputations and business identities, and there's fallout. But this isn't the will of the victims. This is just one person making a decision, and it doesn't reflect what we were asking for.
Steve, did anybody ever call you from the prosecutor's office to just personally discuss this with you? Did anybody offer to meet with you in person to go over this potential plan?
We have meetings all the time particularly a lot of times on Friday. No. We had this regular meeting that we have to try basically do an update of what's going on, where things are at, because Idaho is actually an amazing state where it really does care about people. We just get one or two, people who just don't care about the victims and don't care about justice. And it's easy to take the weight out. It's easy to make an excuse and say, I'm doing this for the victims, even though I've never interviewed the victims. I've never really talked to them to find out what their true feelings are. So here we are, we're stuck and we can't get out of it. I ask your audience if anybody knows Judge Hitler, reach out to him and ask to put his foot down and not accept this offer. It doesn't reflect anything in Idaho. This is not justice. We had an outsider come to our community, kill our kids in their sleep while they're getting a college education, doing everything that they should do, and we don't have the courage to hold him accountable. No plea deal. Let's go for this 100%.
Ooh.
Let's do it. And that's how this family stands.
Steve, I know that, it's no secret your daughter Kaylee was so close with Maddie Mogan, best of friends. And I know that you got to know the Mogan family as well. Have you spoken with the Mogan family, and do you know what their reaction is to this plea decision?
We actually just had a meeting with the prosecution and just tore into it and made it clear that we were not in support of this, but we also invited other families into that. And I'll let them speak on their own that were part of that meeting, but we are in no way alone on this. Multiple families believe the same as we do, but I want to honor their abilities to speak independently and as their child. So I don't want to cross that line, but all I will say is there was no majority for this decision at all. And if they're not working for us, they're working against this guy. I mean, we have to wake up to this. I mean, we have to hold people accountable. Coeur d'Alene just had a shooting where we attacked our firemen. People need to stand up to these monsters and stop freaking bowing down to them and giving them childcare. I mean, prison is nothing but adult childcare. You get free vision, you get free dental, you get free meals, you get AC, room and board, cable TV, internet access. It's ridiculous what we give our prisoners. Better than what we treat our vets. Our vets coming back from war with missing limbs. This is unacceptable.
He's Shannon not wrong. Gray, I'm going to ask you to step in as well. Judge Hitler, Steve just mentioned.
We're halfway, so I'll stop at the halfway point. Yeah, we're about halfway through, but yeah. I mean,
he's not wrong. He's not wrong about that. Like prison is a joke.
It's a catch-22 because as you know, if that was me and that was my child, I would want to go for blood. I don't give a fuck. Let's take it all the way. Fuck him. Fuck that. Fuck you. I would want to take it all the way.
Like
But
I
I
get
can
it,
also
but like
understand the state wanting to get their conviction and wanting to not have to go through a trial, not have to put other families through the trial. Not all those, not everyone's on that level. Of
when
Ugh.
you're when you're when you're speaking in a context of like wanting blood and an eye for an eye, then you're going to look at the prisoners as being privileged. But if you're looking at it in a sense of you really believe in rehabilitation depending on the crime, the better you treat your prisoners, the lower the recidivism rate is. And that's a fact. That's not an opinion. I just want to throw that out there. Because
Yeah.
like to dehumanize people does not rehabilitate them, and I'm not
right.
talking about Koberger because I don't think he can be rehabilitated. I'm no
No.
professional, but just looking at the case, obviously, right? But
Right.
in general, like I'm really heavy on prison reform, and when I hear that, I just fucking like I just wanted to go off just now. I'm sorry, I did.
Yeah,
Like
that's I agree with Cappy on
And
that.
one thing, oh, sorry, I got a delay.
I was gonna say I agree with Cappy on that, and I also want to say that he he's saying all that he's saying at the same time. It's kind of like does he and I don't want because in his position I can I'm understanding what he's going through, but at the same time, and this is just for our conversation purposes, looking at the big picture, he's not going to be on death. He's not going to be going through this next week. He's going to have appeals and appeals and appeals, and he's probably not even going to be alive. I just think it's emotion. He's going in emotion, and he's been in emotion since it happened. And
Well, I mean, I think they've been living in a constant, like, suspended state of animation. Like, their life has been put on hold for the past 2.5 years. Like,
yeah,
this has been their entire life, and it's ending. In his eyes, it's ending like in secret and behind closed doors, and not publicly debated like he expected it to be, right? And
hmm
there's a lot of things that he's unhappy with, like early on in the investigation, like the statement read. um my
I
heart
feel
breaks
like
for him.
this
It's
is
just,
another thing that's out of his control.
yeah, right,
It's
That's
another
what
yes,
I was
thing
going to
yes,
say.
there
It's
you go.
that he
the
can't control.
control. Like, he doesn't have control over this, right?
Yeah, and
And
it's just like his daughter. It's another thing he can't control this either, and he feels like I feel sorry. I do. I mean, I don't
oh, I
agree
feel
with
very sorry
everything
for
he has
him.
said. I don't agree with everything he has said, obviously, but it's just another thing.
And I don't.
He thinks he should have control over what happens to the man that took his daughter's life. And I, like I said, I don't have kids, but 100% I can understand how he feels. I think
Yeah, for
anybody
sure.
that's a parent can.
You can
For
He
sympathize,
sure.
but
wanted the say. Go ahead.
I don't think it's out to like. I think we'd be ignorant, in my opinion, if their issues matters such as the Gonzalez family may want to pursue. There's civil matters that I have no doubt may come from this, which will be something totally, independent of like once Koberger stuff is said and done. Their options, I have no doubt, and I would not be surprised if we all see that's at least one or a couple of the families do pursue if this is not the especially in terms of victims' rights. The everything surrounding the victims' rights and the laws that are. I have to be honest again. Like I have not looked up the Idaho laws in terms of the victims' rights and what they're permitted and not permitted. But I would have no doubt that there could be some civil course of action for them to pursue should they want to, and I don't think any of us would be surprised if that happens.
I
Am
wouldn't.
I? I might be
I
wrong.
wouldn't. No, I think you're spot on, but I don't think it's going to be against Koberger. I think it's going to be against the
State
the
part.
university. Well,
Yeah.
early on they filed the tort claims. Do you remember that?
Yes, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Well, early on it was. I think it was after the house was sold or given to the university. The family, through their lawyer Shannon Gray, filed a tort claim against the city of Moscow and a couple other places. I can't remember. And I think it was in preparation for this to file civil suits.
I think so too, and so I'm not the only one that's going. Like, we're not going to be shocked
Yeah, no, you're
if civil litigation pursued after.
Well, and especially with the way this is, the feelings about it, you know.
Yeah, I think it would be like a really good thing for the families that are just really despondent about this, is to maybe use this grief and anger to maybe change the way some things work, right? And maybe make a Kaylee's law or something, something like that. And I think that would maybe help other families. Maybe that's like a purpose for them,
And
I don't
I
know.
think it's really interesting. I think every individual family has reacted and proceeded with this.
Oh, I think I lost my connection.
No, she cut out on us.
Oh, okay.
LFT there.
Oh yeah, you got to tell her to climb up the North Carolina pole there that she uses for. There's only one pole in North Carolina for internet, apparently.
Oh shit!
I'm kidding.
She cut right out on us. Dang it! All right, well, why don't we try to get her back? I'm gonna finish playing this.
Okay, sweetie.
All right, here we go.
Mentioned Judge Hippler in this case. I have to ask you as a matter of law, would Judge Hippler have been fully integrated into this deal plan? Meaning, this is not a surprise to Judge Hippler. Is he going to have to weigh this and then rule from the bench as to whether he'll accept it or not? Or is it a fait accompli by the time they get this far down the road that the judge will accept it?
Well, I think a few weeks ago, Judge Hippler, talked about, had there been an offer at all on this case? I think he mentioned it in the courtroom, and maybe that sparked something with the defense and the prosecution. I'm not sure. That being said, with a plea like this, it's with life sentences and it's agreed upon by the state and the defense. There's small modifications sometimes that they can make to the sentencing regarding, restitution, some other things like that. But if the state presents sufficient facts to the judge or a plea of guilty to the counts, normally judges will accept that, and they'll let the defense know if they're not going to accept that ahead of time. So I would suspect that the plea will go through on Wednesday, and then they'll set over sentencing for a few weeks, and so the victims can be present to read victims' impact statements, etc. So
Steve, I covered a case where the defendant was so overwhelmingly guilty according to the evidence, and it was a death penalty case in Arizona, and that jury voted guilty, and they did not vote for death penalty. So that defendant, Jodi Arias, sits in a prison in Arizona as we speak, and she had multiple access to appeals. I wonder if there's any solace at all in knowing that this can't happen to him at this point. There can be no appeal. There can be not one squeak from Brian Koberger after he accepts that sentence at the end of this month, unlike what happened in Arizona, where there is always a chance the jury does not choose death. Is there any solace in the fact that you will at least have him silenced and there will be no appeals?
Absolutely zero. None. Could be no farther than how we believe. I want my community support. I want that jury to make the decision, not Thompson, not some old man who's 70 freaking years old deciding how my daughter's life weighs in a courtroom. That is not justice. That is not justice at all. I'll take my juries, I'll take my peers all day long. I'm sick of one man deciding or one woman deciding what a life's worth. So that's how I stand on that.
I fully understand how you feel. And none of us can understand what you're going through. None of us is walking in your shoes. And I'm just glad to give you this platform to be able to say these things publicly. And I'm also glad that you got the support of Shannon Gray, who's just been a rock for you. Thank you to the both of you. Steve, please give Christy and your kids our love. We will still be here. We'll be here Wednesday. We'll be here at the end of the month. And we'll be here for you after that as well.
Well, thank you. And you've always been a hard worker. And that's why we've always tried to partner with people who put that extra effort. But we couldn't pick the prosecution. We inherited them. But everywhere we go, we partner with people like you who are relentless and tireless, and they just chase down the truth. And I really appreciate that's what you brought to our case. And when people reach out to me, I'll tell them that this is a network that you can partner with and understand that they'll be there to the very end.
God bless you, Steve. I think we just lost Shannon, but I'm sending you my my deepest love and wishes for some peace in all of this, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Heartbreaking.
I hear just a lot of pain. You know what I mean? And I hope that over time a little bit more clarity, like I guess, of the anger, because anything could happen. I know it's of his peers. I know that you want the jury to make the decision, but there's always that risk that it would come back as a hung jury, then you do it again, and it could have been a not guilty because you just don't know. Jurors nowadays, it's like if you don't have DNA, you're just, it's harder to get a conviction. And then when you do have DNA, it's like, well, how much is it? You know, and then it's like almost if you do not have the actual act on film, some people just cannot do it. I mean, they just cannot find somebody guilty, and some people don't listen. Some people have comprehension skills. You know what I mean? Not every juror is smart. I mean, I'm sorry, they're just not, and sometimes they can't take that information and think it through logically. You know what I mean? Or you might
Yeah.
have one that can influence three others. You don't know. And I'm just glad that
Yeah.
he's never going to get out. I'm just so glad he's never going to see the light of day. And Steve talked about, well, he can, he's going to have a better life, than our veterans and all the things and everything. But he would have had a much better life on death row, because death row is much
Exactly.
nicer
Yeah.
than actual gen pop, prison.
Oh yeah, they're catered to. They have much
They
more comfortable
much
accommodations
more
than the general population.
right.
So in reality, if he got death row, right, he would have been living much more comfortably, and he probably
Hmm.
wouldn't have been executed. Like honestly, in their
Right.
lifetime.
Right. He would have
Right.
lived
He
30
said he died
years
of
in a
natural
much more
causes.
comfortable position in a prison versus
Right.
being not as protected, I guess I want to say, or as comfortable as he would have been on death row. You know what I mean? I just want
Yeah.
his every day to be miserable,
Right.
as miserable it can be. I don't care what happens to him, just don't.
Will he
And
go to state or
yeah,
federal prison?
State, Idaho.
He
State,
will go to
Idaho.
Idaho State. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
It's not a federal. It wasn't a federal crime, even though he crossed state lines and all that.
That
It
was my
wasn't.
question.
It
Okay.
wasn't charged federally. Yeah. No.
Okay.
Um. Yeah. I don't. You guys. I don't know. I feel so bad for them, and you can hear like the anger and pain in his voice. And Steve has been a really tremendous advocate for his daughter Kaylee, and what justice looks like for him. He's been very, very clear. And this is the exact, like he said, the exact opposite of what they wanted. And I feel terrible, but at the same time, the rational side of me is like, this was always going to happen.
but we don't know what
Yeah.
there's four victims, and I think a lot of times that's forgotten. I'm sorry. I
Right.
know I
No,
sound
you're
like a
right.
total
Yeah.
bitch. I know I sound like a total bitch right now.
No,
But
you
there's
don't.
four victims, okay? There's eight parents, okay?
Right.
Right.
And their opinion, is just as valid to them as his is to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I hear a lot of pain. I can't imagine. I cannot imagine the emotions, just the
Right.
I don't
Did we
know.
lose
It's
her, or did I
I
lose her?
I just, and he has every right to have those emotions. He has every right to have those feelings. Those are his feelings. But there are also three other victims and six other parents. I'm
Did you
sorry, there
know?
just is.
Did you notice that he kind of separated himself from the other parents and
Yes,
like
I
talked
did.
about? He was
Yes.
well,
really
I
brief, but he mentioned the meeting they had. Like he's like, yeah, their opinions in the meeting, and he kind of left abandoned the subject a little bit. Like,
But he
well,
doesn't want to.
he
He doesn't want to speak for other families, and I would be pissed if he did.
right,
If he came out and
but
spoke for
but
me,
but I kind of felt like maybe other people might be happy about this, and you know what I mean. Like, it's obviously speculation, but I feel like some of the parents might be happy
right?
about
I
that, or
feel
feel not happy but satisfied with justice.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Chapins they came out early on that they were not pro death penalty people. And that initially they weren't even going to attend the trial, but then
Right.
they changed their mind and they said they were going to. So I don't know if they've changed their mind on their opinion on the death penalty, but if they haven't, then I know they're okay. But Steve did say that the majority of families, this is not their outcome. So my guess is the Mogans, sorry, my dogs, Mogans, the Chapins, and of course the Concalves family are not happy, and the Chapins are just like whatever. Sorry,
But
guys, my dogs.
but the Chapins have, I don't care what the majority is, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. The Chapins lost their son.
Mhm.
They have just as many rights to their feelings as the
Right.
other. There's four victims, and it's like, as long as he's not walking the face of this earth free, and every day is miserable for him, um, I think
Yeah, and
over
it's not like
time,
he got some lame 10-year, 15-year sentence. He got a lot of,
four
you know what I
lives
mean? He's
plus
like
10 years. Yeah.
right. He's
And
looking at
then
some
no appeals.
motherfucking
That's
time. Yeah.
the
That's
no appeals
huge.
is huge. The no appeals is
Huge.
huge. That's huge. The family does not have to. When Steve Gonzalez is gone, right, in 30,
Right.
40 years, his other surviving children and grandchildren do not have to have their world revolve around appeals.
Right.
They
Exactly.
just don't have to. And
And
I
that's
just
awesome.
pray for healing. I just pray that
Yeah.
they can go to that they can get therapy and just and move towards that, the 5 stages of grief. This is,
Right.
you know and not going to trial is a loss for them because they wanted that, and the last thing that you go through in grief is acceptance, and that's the hardest to get to.
And
I,
he did say that, in given time they'll come to terms with this, and
Hmm.
I hope, I really do hope that happens. And I think it will happen as long as, listen, I think Steve wants answers, and I
Yeah.
don't think any answers he gets are going to be satisfying,
Nope.
but I think he wants answers. And I tell you what, I would too, a
I
hundred
would too.
percent. I want to know why. Why did you kill my
Yep.
beautiful, angelic, smart, talented, aspiring daughter?
Yep. And he
Why?
might not ever get that. I
And
mean,
I, right. And I
he might
think,
not have would got it through a trial.
and
He's going to find out how it happened and all the things, but the actual why.
yep,
And I remember Steve one time. It was like I think it's when he landed in Idaho. Steve was there. It was one of the very first appearances with Koberger, and Steve talked about how he stared at him, and Koberger made very brief contact with him, but that was very important to him, and it would be to me too. I would be the bitch that would be like, no, you're going to look in my eye, but he might not ever. You could go through a 3-month trial, sit through all that, risk, because 12 people have to agree on it. They could have found him guilty but then couldn't put him to death. All these things could have happened, and he never look you in the eye, and you never get why.
Well, and
But I
juries
yeah.
want
are
all the
fickle.
questions.
Juries
Did she
are
say
so
anything to you? Did you say anything to her? Was she like? There's so many questions that the family that you're never going to get answers to. That
well. Also, it's very bizarre to me. It was a very bizarre experience to sit in a. I've never sat in a room where someone's killed someone before, and looking at it's so weird, but like looking at his hands, looking at his shoes. It's like those are the shoes. They weren't the shoes he was wearing, but like those are the hands that wrapped around the neck. Those are like it's a very surreal experience to be in a room with someone like that, knowing I don't have that capability. Well,
And
probably
that's what
much
that
like
mom said to you.
Gonzalez, I probably would have then, but it's it's a very strange environment sitting in there staring at someone, questioning everything, like, and then looking at the jury going, oh my God, are they going to get it right? Because the one thing that the state's attorney said in our trial was like, listen, juries are fickle. And you may go in day one thinking you have this wrapped up in a bow. And then, you know, as time goes on, it doesn't work out like that. So
That that program I was telling you about, to where that woman went in and
Yeah.
talked to okay, she talked about that afterwards. Like, she had questions for him, he answered them, everything, and I was in tears. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it, and I'll send it to Queen and have her send it to you. But or put your email address in the back, and
Yeah.
I'll send it to you. But
Yeah, I would love.
but at the end of it, and he took responsibility. He answered every question she had. He took absolute responsibility. It wasn't bullshit. It was for real. And I will never. I was bawling, crying, and she said, "I forgive you." And I just, I was bawling, and uh, it was very healing for her, to where I wish that was more available to families, to where because I think that's what families want, they want to look you in the eye and talk to you.
I would love to see it because I think I have so many questions, so I love to learn,
I'll find it.
through others.
I'll find it.
I just put our email address in the back if you have
Okay,
not.
thank you, baby.
Thank you.
There's this question about a confession. Do I think there'll be a confession? And I first of all, I obviously have no friggin' idea, but I hope so. And without some kind of confession, I think that this is not justice. I think that listen, I think the reason Steve is so upset is I do believe that he absolutely believes in an eye for an eye, right? That's the like a normal way of thinking for that area of the country. I get it. Um, but without some kind of confession and some kind of like reason why, and there might not be a motive in there. I don't know, but without some details, I don't see justice in this. And I think Steve thought that going to trial and getting the public's eye on all the information, being sure that this was the guy, that there were no questions, right? I think that was really important to him. So without a confession, I don't think it's justice. Sorry, I took an edible, so I'm rambling a little bit. But yeah.
Oh, I love that feeling.
I just got off the show and I
See, I think
popped
it
an
is
edible
just.
and I opened up YouTube and here I am.
It's not
Well, you
justice
know
to
what, though? I'm
him,
glad
but
you came up, though, because this is wild as hell. I did not expect this at all. We were actually
I
we were
totally
talking
did.
about covering the case or the trial and stuff. Like, we were like getting
Yeah.
into covering it, and I was like,
Yep.
oh man, this is gonna be a heavy one. This is gonna be a heavy one. And
I've been
boom,
talking about this for a while and I've been getting shit about it because people are,
out of nowhere.
unhappy when I talk about it. But I've been telling people for a while to expect a plea. Yeah.
really, I
Yeah.
really, I didn't
Only
expect this
because
at
of
all.
the statistics. And I'm an
Mm.
analyst by trade. That's what I do. I analyze trends and I do predictive analysis, and that's my job. And, so that's what I go to. I'm like, let's go look at the stats. And yeah, over 70% of death penalty cases get bled out.
Damn,
That
I
is
had
so
no idea.
That's
Wow.
why the death penalty is still in effect in so many cases, in so many states. Sorry. They don't actually kill a lot of people. People sit on death row for a really long time. It's a
Exactly.
negotiation
Oh
tactic.
yeah,
I think
they
it
It's a
was
do.
Tennessee just killed one recently.
Yeah, so did
Like,
South Carolina.
yeah,
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean it's very rarely implemented is my point.
Yeah, like
It's
in
used to
comparison
negotiate.
to like the past, like yeah, we don't hardly execute as many people as we used to in this country
Right. Right.
well, I'm gonna
collectively.
hop
Like I
up.
mean, obviously it's state to state, but
Right.
I'm gonna hop down. I said hop up. I'm tired. Thank you for letting me up. Thank you for a great discussion. And Body, I'm so look. Right as she said, "Hey," I was because I was coming off mute because I was looking at chat and I was like, I was gonna say, "Body, can you please come up here? I need help." And I'm
Yeah.
never, I'm
No.
never, I'm never too ashamed to be like, I'm the one in the back of the class. I don't know what
No.
that word means.
Me too. We're all learning from each other every single day, in
Mhm.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Everybody
Well,
brings different things to the table. That's how I look at it.
Rowena, you helped me a great deal tonight with some of your information.
Oh no, I didn't do anything. But I will look for that video. I really will, and I'll send it to you, and I'll send it to Queen too. It's very good, and she talks about it. It was very, very good. So
Thank
I
you.
wish that was done more because I think it's a healing. If the inmate and the family both agree, and it's a mutual thing, then that would be great. So now I'm just
Yeah,
ready for the documents to dump, and I think everybody needs to give all of the family members grace. They're hurting right
I
now.
agree.
They're going to say that, look, what do we do when we're hurting? We lash out, we
Mhm.
blame,
Sure.
we do all the things. So, whatever, that's his right. The other family members have their rights. We're not family. Give them some grace. Just, please don't judge family. Just don't. I mean, I don't agree with some of the stuff Steve said, but I understand I understand the pain he's coming from.
Well, we
I've
don't
never
know how.
experienced that much pain, but I've experienced some grief that was literally just knocked, just knocked me off my feet years and years ago.
Sure.
I very much lashed out. So I
Well,
understand that.
and I had a family, my aunt actually was murdered with an axe when I was little.
Dear God.
Yeah, and her
Sorry.
murder was never solved while it recently was solved actually, but we went 40 years without it being solved, and the guy that did it is dead. And so, but I'm very not pro death penalty. So everyone's different, right? So even if you have a family member that's been murdered, you're not going to be like, oh, I want them killed, right? But so I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, like, even though I've had a person killed in my family, I still didn't want that person to die. But everyone is different, though.
Right.
Get
You
that.
See,
know,
I would be the one that would be like, well, give me the axe and let's go in this room and we're just going to take care of this right here. You know what I mean? Like, I would be that person.
Cost savers.
You know, I but I've never been that. The closest thing I've ever been to is we had a failed adoption. 2 weeks before the baby was supposed to be born,
Mhm.
the mom changed her mind. I went to all the doctor's appointments, had the nursery, had the clothes, told my daughter, had a name, all the things, had a baby shower, and it was a family. It was a family friend, and yeah, and I got a text. That's how I was told, and
Oh,
I drove over to her house,
no, honey.
and and I felt like and I know this is unrealistic, but this is how I felt. I felt like somebody had killed my child. That was my
oh,
child, and I, yeah, it was bad, and I just shut the nursery door for 2 years. For 2 years, nobody walked in that room but me. Nobody. My husband was not allowed to open that door. It was very unhealthy, extremely unhealthy, and so I haven't lost a child or anything, but I feel like I have my one baby out there that was
Yeah,
mine. That I was supposed to do her. Me and the doctor, I was gonna deliver my own child. I mean, she was my baby. I loved her just like I loved the
of
child that I
course,
carried.
of
And
course.
2 weeks before, it was like she was gone. And
Oh,
and so I understand that. Right, I don't understand my child. I'm not trying to make it sound that way, but I know how I lashed out at, you know, wanting somebody to hurt. You know,
yeah,
hmm
yeah,
hmm
yeah.
yep.
I
And I
wanted, I
think,
wanted somebody.
and I think that's where Steve's at. He wants
Yeah,
somebody to pay with their life, like his daughter.
right,
Like,
right.
I mean, I respect that, and
Mhm,
I understand it, but that's not how the system works, right?
mhm, right.
And Steve even knows that in his statement that they released. He says, this is a flaw in our system.
Yeah,
And so, he recognizes that. In my heart, again, emotionally, my heart breaks for him, but my rational side, which is more powerful right now, is like, this is what justice is supposed to look like.
right.
Right.
And if it's not what justice is supposed to look like to him, then I hope that he can work on reform and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
focus
Right.
on the next family. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it can be a it
It could
can
be
be
Kaylee's legacy.
it
It could
can.
be it
Yeah,
could be Kaylee's legacy to help, You know,
Yeah.
Kaylee loved true crime. She loved true crime.
Hmm.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, she
yes.
did. She was
See?
that's the one
Yeah.
that was
That's how she followed
sub to
Olivia.
Olivia.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
B, you're up here with us.
I'm gonna hop down. Thank you, baby. Thank y'all.
Thanks.
I
Bye,
didn't mean to
Marina.
overshare.
Hi,
Sorry. I didn't
See
mean
you
to.
later,
Rowena.
bro.
Anyway, bye.
Queen, did you get the link I sent you?
Hi, can you hear me?
I don't think so.
I sent
B,
it
you're
to
up
you on
here with us.
Discord.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I can now. Yeah. What's up, baby? How are you?
Hi, good. This is my first time using StreamYard. Is it clear?
Yeah, it's clear. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, great. I just wanted to chime in. I'm actually a little bit bummed that Rowena just dropped down, but I went to the last Lori Vallow trial, and
Oh, nice. How did that? Okay, cool. Fill us in, girl. Tell us about it.
it was crazy. I mean, I have followed that case for so long. I'm like, I have got to go to that trial, and I agree. I don't know everyone's names, but I agree with the girl. I think it's Tia that was saying they're not prepared to see the horrific pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
I do think that the prosecution or the prosecutor and their team prepares the family, but me being there as just in the audience, I was not prepared to see Charles laying there dead on the ground. Even though I knew what had happened, I just was not prepared to see it. And I literally, I mean, I don't think anyone in the gallery was. And we literally gasped. I mean, I immediately started crying because it was very sad. And he was not at all. I mean, they didn't show the pictures, obviously, to the public. So if you were watching the trial, you couldn't see it. But he was not at all, gory or anything, as I think they would be in this case. But it was extremely traumatic. And it was for the family, too, even though they were prepared. Kay got up and walked out. I don't know if you guys followed that trial and you know all the players in it, but it was horrible. I mean, I was not prepared to see him laying there dead.
It definitely rings a bell that you can't unring.
But
In Delphi, they only showed the pictures to the galley for a brief second.
Really?
The jury, yeah, the jury.
In
the
Delphi, okay.
What?
I'm sorry, you said Delphi, right?
Yeah, in Delphi, yeah, and those were also minors as well.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
But that was pretty. Again, that was a pretty gruesome.
it was very gruesome.
Yeah.
But
So,
you know,
did you
I
say
think
you did the Delphi trial and you saw the pictures?
no, I did not go to the Delphi trial, but I have seen the pictures. Yes.
Oh, okay.
There was there were many leaks in that case, and that was one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's unfortunate. So I just wanted to say that, but if I was, I think if I was Steve, I also would feel the same way. I think he gets a lot of crap because he's very outspoken, but I'm very outspoken, and if that was my kid, I would be exactly the same way. I would be outspoken during the entire
Sure.
however many years. I would be saying exactly what I wanted to say. No one's going to stop. I mean, they had some restrictions, but it's that emotion. It's just that raw emotion. I feel it for him. I feel like during Lori's trial or Charles' trial, I think it was extremely powerful for Kay to be able to speak to Lori and give her a piece of her mind, and she was so effective in that. And I think they wanted that, even though I don't know if Steve would be on the stand or anything. I don't think he would, but
they're still going to be able to do that. They're still going to be able to do that. The victim impact statement will happen before sentencing.
Oh, good.
They're still going to be able to do that. Yeah.
I guess what I don't understand about sentencing is we already know he's going to be. Don't we already know that the plea deal was for life?
But apparently they're still sentencing. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
To do investigations to make sure. I'm going through it right now. Yes, they still have to do. There's a line of investigations that still have to happen, even though he's going to jail for the rest of his life and never getting out. There's still things that have to happen. And people need to sign on the dotted line. It's a weird thing. I forget what they call it, and I wish I could remember.
Calique. It's like calique or something.
Yes.
Yeah. They listen. The lawyer I had on the show tonight talked about that, and I pretended to understand, but I was like, oh, but I didn't. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about.
I'm looking forward to hearing yours tonight because
I think it's called like I don't know if I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like colloquy
Yeah,
or what you
it's
said.
something like that. Yeah, colloquy or something. Yeah, colloquy. But
Yeah.
that has to happen. But so the sentencing is expected to happen at the end of July. So at the end of July, the victim impact statements will be read by the family directly to Brian Koberger and the judge. And the judge takes all that into, consideration when he's doing the sentencing.
I think I missed the beginning. Why did they come to this? Did it state why they came to this plea deal today, or like was it already in the works? I never even heard anything about a plea deal.
Well, in the May 15th hearing, the judge said the last best offer will be offered at the end of June, early July. So we knew that the last plea deal being offered to Brian Koberger would be, at around this time. And here we are, it's the last day of June. Last night, the 29th, the final last best offer, the LBO, was sent to Brian Koberger's defense team last night and they accepted it. What exactly led up to that? We don't know. It's just speculation at this point. And, the denial after denial after denial, is being done and possible. I mean, well, and the DNA stuff being excluded was denied. The
Yeah,
third
to
party
try and pursue
culpability, the
yeah,
delay.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think
yeah,
all of
I
it as a
just
combination.
obviously as onlookers, we wanted to see a trial, and the main thing is the family. Like I just feel for them so much. I
me
just
too. I do
it's
too.
ugh, heart wrenching. I did want to say though, during the Ballo trial, the most one of the most shocking things, other than I wasn't, they didn't prepare us that we were going to see as pictures, was that, and being that close to Lori, she's absolutely crazy, and it's shocking. Like I was like, couldn't believe how close, we were to her in the courtroom. But is that there was so many. I mean, we always knew that this trial would be a circus, right? But the Valor trial, the majority of the people in the audience was these podcasters that we watch, like all the true crime podcasters, more so than even like local media. And I was like, what in the heck is going on? It was so weird. So I know that they also, I mean, I don't know how big the courtroom was. I don't know how much room there was for an audience there in Idaho, but it was very shocking to me to see all the true crime
Yeah.
podcasts.
I had I had Brian Enton on my show a couple days ago, and he
Mhm.
was talking about how close basically you are to him in the courtroom with, because he goes to all the, the pretrial hearings with Koberger, and he was saying that it's a pretty big courtroom and there's a lot of empty seats. But for the actual trial though, I think it would be totally full and there would be overflow for media, and that's likely where the podcasters would go.
Yeah, if there was room. Maybe newbie, do when you get ready to talk, make sure you unmute. You got feedback, so I muted you while she was talking. So just make sure you unmute when you want to chat, okay?
Queen, I'm going to hop down, but I wanted to thank you.
Yes.
And Body, thank you for coming up and answering questions. And
Well, and I don't have all the answers. I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm with you guys. I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? Like I'm guessing
more
as I go
about
along.
this case than I do. So I'm looking forward
Oh,
to.
the case. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
So I appreciate that very much. I'll be looking through your eyes now, but I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for
Yeah,
letting me, Queen.
I should probably go too. I need to eat. I have not eaten dinner yet.
Oh yeah, you girls better get that done. Then it's getting late.
Yep, it's 10:30, and I've had a long day. So, thanks, Queen.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming up.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. See y'all later.
Thank you. Newbie, are you still up here with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yep. Emily, you still up here with us?
Yeah.
Okay. You girls have anything else you want to add before I play this?
I don't.
You girls have anything else you want to add before I play this?
College murders case. The trial
Sorry,
date
I
is
had
now
it on
set.
mute. No, go ahead.
This morning, close friends of the victims are telling their story for the first time on GMA. Kana Whitworth sat down with them. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. Hunter Johnson and Emily Allant were two of the first people to arrive at the King Road house that November morning. These are the friends who prompted the 911 call. Their actions described by other families as heroic. But for them, it was a morning that changed everything. And they're speaking out for the first time about what they want people to remember about their friends. It's not just about how they died, but about how they lived.
You know, you see the world in pure innocence, and that all gets ripped away from you in one phone call. That's just the day that changed it all.
This morning, for the first time, the best friends of Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle speaking out about that November day when they discovered Ethan, Xana, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogan brutally murdered off-campus home.
I don't think anyone expects anything like that ever in their life to happen.
Hunter Johnson and his friend Emily Allant now telling their story in a new Prime Video docuseries, One Night in Idaho, The College Murders.
We were a big group of friends. Why would you target those four?
Emily says she and Xana were inseparable.
We were attached at the hip probably the first day that we met. Yeah, we just clicked immediately. We were same personalities, I feel like.
I love it when people talk about Ethan and Xana sort of being like male and female of each other.
Oh, it's very much true. They were the same person.
Hunter and Emily say the fall weekend started like any other with a big football game. The friends snapping this photo that Saturday.
It was a normal weekend for us, just hanging out with our friends.
The next morning, Emily says Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, called her concerned, asking her and Hunter to come over.
In the documentary, you tell the story of really not feeling alarmed when Dylan called you.
I joked around with her on the phone. You know, it's something you would never expect.
It's November, so I had shorts on, slides on. Like, I wasn't prepared to obviously stay there. I was just going over to check, see what's going on. I would say as soon as you get there, you know something's wrong.
Hunter was the first person to arrive to King Road to discover their friend Josie Louderin, who was also there, describing the moments in the docuseries.
As soon as I stepped in the house, I was like, oh, something is so not right. Like, you could feel it. Oh, Hunter was ahead of me and Emily and immediately was pushed out. And Hunter was like, get out, somebody call 911.
You hear Hunter on the 911 call telling the girls there was an unconscious person protecting them from the graphic details.
Is she breathing?
No.
How did you remain so calm in that moment?
Truly, in my heart, I believe God was with me that day, and he gave me the strength to get through that day.
As authorities entered the home, the friends say they were told to...
I believe he was actually in shock. I believe he was reacting in as normally as he possibly could. But I believe that in that moment, he was still in shock at what he had seen and was still trying to process it.
Sit outside, waiting for hours with little information.
We watched the ambulance come and we watched them immediately leave. So I think that was a hard part for sure.
That second you realize there's no one to be saved.
Right.
Their best friends inexplicably murdered. Not knowing who was responsible or why, they feared for their own safety.
We just left to get away, be safe.
Yeah.
Is our
you
mindset.
didn't feel safe.
No.
I mean, you got to think these kids are right out of high school. You know what I'm saying? High school, I mean, they're still young ass kids. This shit is so sad, man. It's going to fuck with them for the rest of their lives, you know?
Nearly 7 weeks it took police to arrest a suspect. Emily, Hunter, and surviving roommates Dylan and Bethany became the targets of online sleuths and social media attacks.
Lots of threats, people saying I should confess to murdering them. I felt like I was less than a person in that point in my life.
On December 30th, 2022, police arrested then 28-year-old Brian Koberger. To Emily and Hunter, he was a complete stranger. Their murder trial set to begin in August. His attorneys say he's innocent.
Does justice lie in a conviction?
I don't think there's going to ever be any justice.
I mean, yeah, we can have justice for the conviction of it, but I don't get to still hang out with Ethan. So
they still don't get to.
They don't
be
have a
with their
son. They don't
child.
have a daughter anymore.
They say they hope people remember who their friends were beyond the headlines.
Who they are as people is so much more than the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be known as the Idaho 4, and they shouldn't be attached to, you know, the name of who did that to them. And I just think that, you know, hopefully one day that they're just seen as who they are and not what happened to them.
Yeah, Emily went on to tell me they are so much more than their last day. Now, they joined Ethan's family to speak in this docuseries One Night in Idaho, The College Murders, which premieres July 11th on Prime Video. Also, keep in mind, guys, we're closely monitoring a Pennsylvania court today where several potential witnesses for the defense will learn if they need to testify in Idaho when this trial is set to start in August.
Oh,
Guys.
all right, Kana, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's
then-
tough as hell. And then we not only to find them that way, but then be accused of their murder, you know, having people say, you know, that you did this and going off like they do, you know, just, oh my God, man, I couldn't even imagine, man. I couldn't imagine that being my child. I couldn't imagine it happening to me or someone that I know, you know.
It's horrible. And the thing is, I think it's obviously good for Dylan and Bethany not to have to testify, but we really wanted to hear. I mean, that was one of the main reasons I wanted to watch the trial was we've never got to hear from them.
Yeah, for sure. And the time difference, all, you know, the 6 to 8 hours with what were you doing? You know what I mean? It was kind of, we were all, I think, we were all kind of curious as to why they waited so long. And, you know, there was just so many questions, so many unanswered questions. And like I said, selfishly, I would like to have a trial because I have so many questions of my own that I'm like, what the hell, you know?
The selfish part, yeah, like,
Yeah, that's the selfish part of me wanting to have a trial because I'm a nosy
right.
person. I want to know, you know what I'm saying? Certain things and certain details and certain, you know, questions that I have. And, you know, like I just, that's just, it is what it is. That's just part of, you know.
I think it's also good for those two, for Bethany and Dylan. I mean, wow. Like, can you
Well, yeah,
imagine?
especially with everything they've seen and went through. Happy Life member for 24 months. You got your golden beat, bitty bop. So motherfucking excited to catch a live. You got your golden beat, girl. Congratulations. Been here 2 long years, girl. Fancy Clancy, thank you for dropping a membership. I'm going to read these out real fast, guys, so I can catch up. Heather BBG, member for 27 months. Judy, the lawyer, I think I read yours off earlier. I sent you the other family posts through Discord. Yeah, I got those. We read them off, baby. Slim Jim, let's see here. Huge thank you to Discord and the Hive this week. Would be lost without you all. Love for those in this case. I see both sides. Yeah, and I think, you know what? I think it's good when you're able to see both sides. LFT Decipher, thank you for the membership and thank you for coming up and hanging out with us as well, and chit chatting with us. Judy says the intensity of a trial, and I've done many, is incredibly draining, impossible to anticipate. To go to trials like choosing to climb a mountain with no training. Oh yeah, we read that one, but I didn't read your other one then. Hold on. So this one, the families are usually consulted. I don't like that they were blindsided. It makes me feel like he did this so they would continue to suffer not knowing, and they will. Well, I thought they were notified. I thought they said that they were notified, or you know what I'm saying, and had time to talk about it, but I guess not. You know what I'm saying? I guess they didn't, because from what Steve said, he fought like hell with the DA, and the DA wasn't budging about it, you know?
Yeah, I would be just exactly. I mean, I feel for that family, all the families, obviously, but he's the most outspoken, and that would be me.
Yeah.
I would not be able to keep my damn mouth shut when nothing. They didn't get anything they wanted.
I don't really think that that's true because the families can get the evidence that they're going to present in court if they want to see it. So he wasn't going to tell them anything. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he was going to come out and say this and this happened. The evidence that the state had, that they were going to get in court, the family could see. Am I correct on that? I mean,
I don't think they can just go in and say, let me see the evidence you have against, you know, the person that killed my child. I don't think you can do that.
the state can show them the evidence. I mean, if they want to see the autopsy photo, if they want to see the evidence that they have, the state would show the family the evidence.
Yes,
I
I've
would
never heard of
assume.
that. I've never heard of them doing that, but that could be, I don't know. Like I
But
said,
I
I've
don't
never
think
heard
he
of it.
wants the evidence. I mean, it's not just about the evidence; it's about the process. I would want to be
Right.
in there. I would want to see him, face him. I mean, I assume this. I obviously don't know, right? But I assume that I would want to see the process go through and him to get the death penalty. Granted, we know it doesn't happen for 20 years, and he might be dead, or the family might not even be alive by the time. The parents might
They
not even
said
be alive.
no, it'll take civil litigation. That's right. That's what I figured it would. It's okay. So go
To
ahead.
get
I'm
the
sorry, B. I
information.
didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry, B. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I don't think it's just seeing the evidence. It's not like you just open a file and you're like, okay, now I feel vindicated. It's like, I want to go through the process. I want to have them questioned. I want all these people to testify and tell me what happened. Like,
Right.
hopefully the Netflix thing will show us something. But the whole thing in the beginning, if you guys go back to the beginning, this is what I always try and remember. The first thing you heard about this case when it happened, because I followed it very closely in the beginning and then I had to take a break. But in the first, I heard of it on the news. You hear there's or I don't even know if they said how many. They said there's murders at the college or at the college house, and there's all these people outside. There's all the, and we're like, what do you mean there's all these people outside? What do you mean they didn't know they were dead? Like, you just, in the beginning, it was so chaotic. I just remember being like, how did they not know? And what do you mean they waited to call? And there's just so many things in the beginning, and I don't know if that Netflix show will cover it, but the trial would have.
Whoa. Back up. What now? What do you mean they didn't call? What do you mean that what?
In the beginning, when I first heard about the story, they waited like hours to call the police. This is what the first news interviews were, or the first news stories were. They waited hours to call the police. When they finally called the police, there was someone passed out in the front yard, and there was all these teenagers there. That was the
front
first
yard
story that I heard. Yes.
I didn't hear anything about anybody
I don't know
passed
what you're
out in the
talking
front
about.
yard. Yeah, I never heard that.
When they were calling, when they were on the phone with 911,
there was nobody passed out in the front yard, ma'am. I don't know your name.
Yes,
Maybe
there was
nobody.
Yes, there was. Someone fainted. Yes, someone fainted. I'm just telling you what I heard. I'm not saying it's accurate. I'm just saying that I always try and go back to remember.
Well, we listened to the 911 call, and there was nobody passed out in the front yard.
I'm just saying the first news story said that someone was passed out in the front yard. They did, and so when they said that there was like, I don't know if they originally said murder or if there was dead bodies. We didn't know, hearing that first initial story, if the person was dead or passed out or what. So we didn't know. They just said there was all these teenagers that were in the front yard, multiple people on the call to 911. And so I just feel like with the trial, we would have found out exactly what happened. And now I don't know if we will find out exactly what happened.
Well, that was all like speculation, like WSU mom going around saying it was a trap house. I mean, what you're saying is basically what was rumors and speculation, and it's college kids. So there's going to be rumors, but we've heard the 911 call. So they never called and said there was anybody in the front yard. They called the two friends.
I'm just saying the first initial news story that came out.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying since then, that was 2 years ago. So we know that that's not true. That's been debunked. So there was also rumors of a tunnel and then there's all kinds of stuff that went around. So we know that's not true. But I mean, those kinds of things were running around on Facebook. So we can't go off of like all those little things. I don't know. I guess I don't understand that's not important to the family. Those things. So
no, I understand. I'm saying just for us, the viewer or the audience that has been following the story, those are the things that I was hoping would come out during the trial, is everything that happened in the beginning, because we never have got to hear from Bethany and Dylan, and they would have had to be, tell us. We would have found out at the trial, right? So like I said, I think it's good for them, but for us, we won't ever really know what happened.
No, I understand that those are the things that were remembered, but there's a lot of gossip of what was remembered
Well, yeah, what she's saying is she knows it's not true, but it's what they were saying at first. That's what they kept saying. That's the story they were saying at first. No, it's not true, but that's the story that they first came out with. Was that kids were partying and that there was kids in the front yard, which we know not to be true. It's not true at all. But that's one of the first stories they came out with.
Right.
And
That's
I
what she
thought,
was saying.
yeah, but I'm just saying, I thought we knew that wasn't those
Yeah,
things.
we know it's not true. Yeah, what she was saying is that was one of the first stories they came out with.
Like the news actually came out with this story, okay? And that's all I'm saying is like, where did this all come from in the beginning? We will probably never know now because we're not going to have a trial.
I'm assuming just people gossiping, like people just making up stories. One person says something and it just, I mean,
Like a bad game of telephone.
yeah, they're just stories that people tell that are just not true. They
I don't
aren't
know. It just
factual.
sucks because there's a lot of details. There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of questions I think that we all have. You know what I'm saying? Like that that everybody has, or different questions that people have that we'll never get the answer to. That's pretty much what it boils down to. Is now that there's no trial, unless they write a book or come out and speak on it, we're never gonna know.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's not that stuff that though it wouldn't have came
And
out
it's going to
really.
be impossible to put a timeline together without all the witnesses and everybody there, So I think Steve would have, liked to hear everything from everybody, all the details of everything that happened, everything that unfolded second by second, you know what I'm saying, up until that point. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that he really wanted to know.
Yeah, and I think he thought, whatever that would help bring them closure. Obviously, there's never closure, but
Yeah.
they've just fought so hard, and he's been the most outspoken one. And I just think, yeah, he gets a lot of crap, but I think I would have handled it the same way. Everyone, I mean, that's just.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I probably would have been worse. I mean, that's his daughter. That's his baby girl. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for being upset. I don't blame him for wanting a trial. I don't blame him for wanting the death penalty. You know what I mean? Like he said, it's not fair. This motherfucker gets to live. He gets to talk. He gets to make friends and breathe and eat and live his fucking life, whether it's in a prison cell or not. My baby's dead. She's gone. Fuck that. Fuck that. You know what I mean? That's not good enough.
Yeah, I think my whole thing with what you were saying was that they're not going to cover what all the different things that were said that happened. Like that's where I was confused. Like I thought you meant they said someone was.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was.
Like I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying?
I wasn't clear. I'm just saying, like,
I'm sorry you can't relate.
Confused. Like,
let's just not. No,
yeah.
Fuck that.
Like all the things that were said that were debunked, I was like, they're not gonna like that. Doesn't all the different things that were said were debunked that we now know. Now that other things have came out or whatever, that's what I meant. Like that's not the case now. I mean, we knew, but I don't know.
All I know is hopefully that motherfucker will be dealt with in prison. And that's it. That's all. You know what I mean?
Well, we hope so. I mean, we don't really ever hear a whole lot after they go to prison. Like
no, because the prisons don't want you hearing stuff like that. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. The wardens absolutely do not let that get out of here unless they got to do a federal investigation. You ain't gonna hear shit like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't want that getting out at all. Absolutely not.
So we hope he gets taken care of, right? I mean,
right.
It's so sad, the whole all around. It's just like it's kind of like such an abrupt ending. I think everyone's just a little bit in shock.
Well, there's such
a big
because
everybody was expecting the trial to start in August. You know what I mean? Like it's July 1st right now. So in 30 days, everybody was expecting this big, huge fucking trial. Like another Karen Reed trial.
Yeah.
Where the courthouse is packed, everybody's there. There's cameras, there's family. You know what I mean? There's jurors and witnesses, and you know what I'm saying? Like it was, that I think
they said they were going to build like a media tower or something
and
too.
then all of a sudden, just okay, he took a plea deal. It's done. It's over. He got a plea deal.
Yeah, I'm sure the streets would have been lined up just like Karen Reed, like probably
yeah.
more so.
Oh fuck yeah, they would have been. Oh, absolutely, especially with all those college kids. Oh yeah. It's sad as hell, man. It's sad as hell.
It definitely
What'd you
is.
guys think about those the police officers where that guy was hiding out and he started shooting at him? He started a fire in the fucking off in the brush. Started a brush like a bonfire out in the woods, and then when the police officer showed up, he started firing on him. Killed a
I
bunch of them.
didn't
Did you guys hear about that?
I heard a little bit, but I didn't know what happened. They said that 2 firefighters got killed, right?
Yeah, it was bad. It was real bad.
I didn't see it.
Oh, here, we'll play the news clip then because it was real fucking bad. Survivor, thank you for dropping 5 memberships on us. Big Girl for Life says the plea needs to have major stipulations. Yeah, I think they already went over the plea agreement, and I think that once they do a plea agreement like that and they offer it to the defendant, I think the judge is pretty sure is already aware of it. Katie K, thank you for dropping 10 memberships on us. I appreciate you, Biddy. Judy, the lawyer, personal opinion, BK wants to hoard the details. Yeah, I think so too. I think he wants to keep them as secretly as possible for his own pleasure. That's another thing too. I think he wants to be a selfish son of a bitch and not give Steve that closure. He holds the key to that, you know. Personal opinion. Okay, BK wants to hoard the details. He's savoring them as a fantasy come true and didn't want anyone else to know what happened and shared his fantasy. The plea is perfect to him. Psycho continues to hurt the families. MBS, thank you for becoming a new member. Napa Valley Girl member for 8 months per EDB. He will not have to confess, only guilty. Wing Zero member for 32 months. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you for being here, Biddy Bop. Cheesy Wheezy, I think this is better. I think this is better for Mortensen and Funk. Thank you for being a member for 24 months. You got your golden beat, Biddy Bop. Wing Zero, thank you for the 10 memberships. I appreciate that. Justice for Alyssa, member for 3 months. And listen, you know what? And I'm sure you know what? With her daughter's missing. And I heard her say the same thing. I heard her say the exact same thing. My baby doesn't get to breathe and live her life. You know what I mean? You motherfuckers do. That's the difference.
Yep.
That's the biggest fucking difference, and people don't seem to understand that. Deanna Weeks, member for 9 months. Thank you, Queen and panel guest. And Justice for Alyssa dropped a hundo on us. Thank you, Biddy. I appreciate it. I don't know. Did you ever start your story on your channel? Is Justice for Alyssa your channel? Did you ever get your daughter's stuff started on there? Haley A Sky, member for 9 months. How cute is our baby? Oh, we got a little bumblebee baby. Did you get some of your stuff uploaded? I don't know if you're still in here or not, but if you are, Alyssa or Melissa, I'm sorry, Justice for Alyssa, which is Melissa is her name, but her daughter's name is Alyssa. So her name is Justice for Alyssa, which that's her channel name as well. And I think she started to upload some of her story on there. Okay, Justice for Alyssa. There's the channel name right there on the screen right there. But she says started and stopped. Will resume soon. Let me see here. I'm off for the summer. Okay, yeah, you should start to upload them. So yeah, if you want to hear about her daughter's story or her story, you can go to her channel, Justice for Alyssa. And she started to upload some of them, but she's going to finish the rest of them soon. Hold on. Stitching says the most confession you get is pleading guilty to all counts as charged with no appeals and no parole. Yeah, but I think they wanted answers. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know how to say this. I mean, I don't know what to say or how to go about saying it, but I think they wanted more than that. I think they wanted closure on everything. Honestly, I really do. As gruesome as it sounds, I think Steve wants to know the details. I think he wants to know everything that happened. I think he wants to know, did his daughter fight back? Was she in the other room? Did she hear something and walk in the room? What happened? How did this happen?
Yeah.
I mean, did you stab her 7 times or 8 times or, what I'm saying? I think he wants to know everything. Like, you know what I'm saying?
The document, they were saying in chat, they are going to be unsealed. They'll be able to get.
Yeah, I heard somebody say they were going to be unsealed. I don't know how that's going to go down, but if they are, then the docket usually has them.
As a family member, like I said, that they probably, you want to know, did she talk to you? Did she do this? But he's never going to say those things. You know what I mean? Like, why did you do it? When you went in there, what were they doing? I mean, those are the questions I know as a person that
Right.
would
I think he
think
wants.
like,
I mean, I think he needs to know why. And justice for Alyssa, we will never fully get it, unfortunately. And that's the thing. I think he still has to process that, and they've given him 24 hours to process this. When he thought he was going to trial, and he thought he was this close to getting the information, he thought he was almost there to this trial. He was one more month they were going to start it, and he was finally going to get fucking answers after 2.5 fucking years. He was finally going to get answers, and then he gets a fucking email that says, "Hey, he's taking a plea agreement."
Yeah, they ripped the rug right out from under
It's like
them,
a
and
fucking punch in the gut. You know what I mean? That's like a fucking kick to the kneecap, bro. Not cool, man. Not fucking cool, man. All right, here, let's pull this other shit up real quick before we jump off here. Let's check this out. This fucking wild ass crazy started a fire and then started shooting officers and firefighters. They had a gosh dang hold on one second. Let's pull this up. So, okay, Wes Raleigh identified as suspect in fatal Idaho ambush. Sheriff says 2 were killed after firefighters shot in a northern Idaho. Police are taking sniper fire. This was like 1 day ago. So, anyways, there was somebody had started a fire, right? The officers go out to this call, and as soon as they got there, this fucker started unloading on them, like shooting at them. You know what I mean? Just unloading on their ass.
We now have 2 deaths. We have an unknown amount of casualties. We still have civilians that are coming off of that mountain. We might have civilians that are stuck or in shock on that mountain. So this is a very, very fresh situation. We are actively taking sniper fire as we speak. This is an active situation. We have multiple agencies that are on scene from local and federal authorities, and we are prepared to neutralize this suspect who is currently actively shooting at public safety personnel. We are prepared to neutralize this suspect as quickly as possible. They are not, at this point in time, showing any evidence of wanting to surrender. So as soon as somebody has a clear shot, I encourage them to take that shot and neutralize the threat.
so they got the guy or no?
Yeah, he's a young kid. Check this out. So if you go over here to Twitter and you type this in, look at this fucking shit. All this crazy shit comes up. You type in Idaho shooting, and all this comes up. Look at this. This is fucking nuts. Just Wes Raleigh, the shooter, is a white male with MAGA parents, but I'm sure immigrants are the real threat. Well, see, I don't know about that, but this is him right there, and there's obviously his parents. It says breaking 11 firefighters and cops shot on Canfield Mountain, Idaho. Shooters opened fire from the mountaintop wearing camo like they're in fucking war. At least 2 firefighters are dead. What in the actual fuck is going on in this country? And then it says this is one of the he's in the hospital in critical condition. This was 5 hours ago after being ambushed and shot at by a psycho. And then this is okay, new photos and videos have emerged. This is of his TikTok, I'm guessing.
He looks, did they say how old he was? He's like a teenager.
Yeah, young as hell. He looks to be young. Like, I mean,
oh my God.
People in that area need to be very careful because the sheriff has also said that if anybody gets a clear shot at the shooter or shooters, that they should take them out. And this is going to make it very difficult for law enforcement to try to determine who is in their sights. Maybe there's some innocent people, and they certainly don't want to take innocent individuals out. But this is a very fluid, active situation there in the Coeur d'Alene, Idaho area. And by the way, Molly, I've been in that area. This is right around the Canfield Mountain area there. Well, people in that area need to be very careful because the sheriff has also said that if anybody gets a clear shot at the shooter.
Dang, there's a lot going on in Idaho.
Yeah, it's wild as hell.
That's crazy.
Crazy shit, man. Well, I appreciate you girls coming up and hanging out. I'm gonna get off
Thank
here.
you.
It's already 1:30. Well, my time 1:15, but I appreciate y'all hanging out and thank you guys for visiting and going over this stuff with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you girls later.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you guys for going over this. We had to have a palate cleanser and talk about something that's not YouTube drama related. So I really, really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. And is Wispy back on? I'll go drop you guys off to Wispy if she's back on. Justice for Alyssa. Many won't say it, but I will. Truly, there is never enough justice in these situations. I personally won't be satisfied until they unalive the same way. The struggle to not unalive the people that unalive your child daily is undescribable. At least he will not rot in jail. Yes, and you know what? I could relate. I could totally relate to that feeling. If that were to be my child, I would totally feel the same way, and I feel like you have every right to feel that way. It's something it's something you'll never get over. That's your baby. That's your child. It's something you'll never get over. I mean, it is what it is. It's, it's tough, and I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. And I know that this is probably a really tough subject, and I'm sorry that, that you can relate to this. And I hope that I don't want to say something terrible, but I really hope that whoever, what justice comes to whoever was involved with your daughter's passing. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't want to say anything too cruel because I don't know the people or the situation like you do. You know what I mean? Like so I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but you guys can go to her channel, which is Justice for Alyssa, and you guys can go listen to her daughter's story on there as well, and it will give you some backstory, and if you have questions, then you can ask her on there as well. Let me see here. Thank you guys for hanging out for Manic Monday. I appreciate you guys being here. Let's see here. We're going to try to redirect to Wispy's. We'll go see if she's on and started here. Wispy and Jilly. Fuck you, BJ. Okay, cool. There we go. Well, we had a little palate cleanser, and now you guys can go chat about Beej for a little bit. Get you back on track. All right, y'all. Have a safe night on these YouTube streets, and I'll catch y'all on the flip side. QB out.